Welcome to Beat the Line on Pub Sports Radio, our NFL show where we break down each and every game on the card. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Bebsie, my man, I'm pumped up. I'm coming off a giant week one. We'll review all of our action before we break everything down. First off, my man, how are you?
I'm doing okay, Jimmy. You're doing a little better over there, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I know. It was a tough day up here in Canada with the death of. I was saying when I was talking with a couple other people, I think the best stand-up comedian the country has ever produced in Norm Macdonald, and I know that hurt you today, as it hurt a lot of us. Tough. Should mention it right off the top that our country is in mourning, and just want to get that out of the way. You have any words you want to say before we get started?
I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say. I think everyone's pretty gutted. Horrible news, but cheers to one Norm Macdonald. What a beauty.
What a fucking beauty he was, and a big gambler as well. All right. Yes, I'm coming off a giant start, 13-5 plus 7.45 units, and I made mistakes. My card littered with mistakes. I could have had an absolutely unbelievable week. I lost 3 units on the Colts Seahawks game. I lost on the Carolina Panthers full game minus 5.5 because of an ass clown decision of when to buy in. I'll go over how my schedule or how my card kind of came together, but I ended up getting the Panthers full game minus 5.5, which of course was a loser. So after we did 3 hours of work on our last Tuesday show, I didn't just put in the bets. I wanted to sit with all the information, and I'll go over my record and Bebsie's record here in a second, but I do want to give a big shout out to everybody joining us right now. Love it. Absolutely love it. Dennis Garcia in the house says Kansas City minus 2.5, Miami plus 3.5 only. Early stuff locked in, lots of leans. There's Domi Gunrici in the house, ready to get to work. Went 4-2. Ixnizzle says ready to get to work. Browns minus 12.5. Saints Panthers over 44.5. Bucks minus 12.5. Broncos minus 6. I've not made one bet. And when I was sitting there with all this action, I kept putting more action on. I was like, you know what? I've been staring at these games for 4 months. And I don't feel that way about week 2. So I am going to try to pull back a little bit. But thank you guys all so much for joining us. There's Razor Sharp Picks in the house. Nut Flush Allen. Williams Fun Videos. JT ready to eat. Birdie in the house. What a spectacular capper he is. Al Cervic ready to go. Ron Walsek joining us as well. Danny Lopez. Thank you guys all so much. Sammy Calmer. Swervin. My guy F. Carrillo in the house. Erica Taylor says Reds are killing me. I'm sorry to hear that. Erica, Mike M, ready to go. And Bebsie, weather updates, Nut Flush is looking for. We'll go into all of that very soon. Slatsy says, making Tuesday nights great. Only 2 bets. Browns minus 12.5 and over 52.5 for Cowboys Chargers. There's Clint Starr, the diehard MMA podcast. Tony Cobbs, thank you so much for the dono. That means so much to us, man. Truly, thank you. Gerald Jones. Crystal Warren also joining us. Crystal Warren, a great capper. Thank you for joining us, Crystal. Aaron Maybe in the house. Gerald Jones, Dennis Trusty, Alvin Smith, Larry Garr says, Jimmy, the past 5 years, if a playoff team from the previous year loses in week 1, week 2, they're 10-5 against the spread. 7 postseason teams from last year took a loss week 1. That's a great stat. Thank you for that. We'll go over all of that. All right. It is time to get to work. There's Mark Skillman ready to go. Skills in the house. Same with Ski Profit. What a great group of cappers joining us. Thank you guys all so much for being here. So on the Tuesday night, I was just overwhelmed, Bebsie, after this 3-hour plus show. And I thought, don't put anything in right now. And so when I did put my first group of action in, it wasn't that good. It was Pitt plus 6.5, which was a winner. San Francisco minus 8 at plus 105. If I had to bet San Francisco on Tuesday night after the show, I would have got minus 7 at minus 120. And then Wednesday morning, 7.5 at minus 110 was available. But I was confident. I took the -8 at +105. That was a push. Then Colts at +115. That was a I look at the card I had last week, and we won't spend too much time on this because we have so much work to do. But I see mistakes littered throughout my card, even though I went 13-5. Taking the Colts at +115 when they end up 3-point dogs, and then doubling down on them, thinking that I'm better than this market move, that I'm better than was very upsetting.
Sometimes we can believe our own hype, Jimmy.
Seattle, Indianapolis, Colts over 50 was a mistake. Carolina, full game -5.5, a loss. Carolina, first half -3 a cash. Cleveland +6.5 a cash. New Orleans +4 a cash. New Orleans team total over 21.5. That only had me 5-3-1. Then after a couple days, I moved on the Rams -7.5 and the Bears team total under 17.5. I believe I got in on that on a Thursday. And the Ravens first half -3. So that was on Thursday. I went 3-0 there. Then before the show started, I tailed your San Francisco 49ers first quarter -0.5 at +105. I can't understand that market. That was an easy cash for us. I mean, it turned out not to be that easy because the Lions were driving late. But then Hurts over 50.5 rush yards cash. Zacchaeus over 21.5 receiving yards was a loss. The double up on Indianapolis +3 was a loss. Houston +3.5 cash. Miami +3.5 cash. And I paid the price for those, both at -125. Miami, New England first half under 21.5 was a Sonny Vega look that I tailed. And that turned out to be 13-5 +7.45 units. So that's me. Let's go over your stuff, Bebsie. Titans. So first off, sides and totals, you went 3-1. Would have got you off to a great start, but you added in a bunch of player props that didn't work out for you, but your sides and totals were clean as ever, and you always start the year off clean. Titans -3 was your loss, but Chargers pick'em was a win. Miami, New England under 44 was a win. Both market moves on those games went against you, and then the 49ers first quarter -0.5 was a win. And then for props, you lost on Murray over 42.5 rush yards, lost on Taylor over 67.5 rush yards. Chubb over 71.5 rush yards was a casher. Hunt over 33.5 rush yards. He ended up at 33.
That killed me.
That hurt. Kamara over 57.5 rush yards was a casher. Montgomery, your best bet, over 50.5 rush yards was an easy casher. Pitts anytime TD and Taylor anytime TD were both losers. Mostert over 10.5 receiving yards probably would have cashed if he didn't get hurt. So you end up 6-7, down 1.6 units. Can you give us a quick recap of everything for you here and before we move on to this week's action?
Yeah, I'm still stunned at not necessarily how well the Carolina or the Arizona Cardinals played, but just how bad Tennessee was. I don't think anybody should get used to that. I think it was just a stumble out the gates for them, so I'm not going to put much stock into that. And then, yeah, I missed the Hunt double up in Cleveland by a yard, which was killer. Raheem Mostert got injured on his second touch of the game, which was devastating, but you know what? It wasn't all in all. It wasn't the worst. I put a little too much stock in Jonathan Taylor because both of those hit me. But I mean, a couple of little mistakes, and you take those out of the way, then we're good. But yeah, we bounce back, Jimmy. That's what we do. We have a bad week, we bounce back. I'm still confident coming into this week.
And let me ask you this: are you going to do anything differently? Because you've always been so patient early, and your sides and totals were a success. Now, I know that you succeed on player props throughout a full season, but it's early in the year. Are you going to fire away at the player props as well this week, or how do you plan on hammering this action?
I think I'll be a little bit more conservative. I mean, there's going to be looks like the Montgomery prop. I was literally giggling when I found that, and he cashed it on their second drive. So, which was still it was 5 minutes into the game. So there's going to be looks that I'm going to want to jump on come Saturday. But you know what I said? I said on Sunday morning that I was going against my own rules. I got a little too excited. I got pumped the brakes a little bit, but you're not going to see me play it too slow. That's what I'm saying.
I like it. So, I mean, week one combined, we made 32 bets. I had a push. I mean, that's more than usual. But we got off to a good start combined, and I'm ready to get to work. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Here we go. Week 2 of the NFL season. Beat the line on Pub Sports Radio. Let's get to work. We start Thursday, September 16th at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. New York Giants, who opened up their season with a loss at Washington football team, who's also 0-1. Second straight home game for Washington at FedExField in Landover, Maryland. First, we'll take a look at what the market has done and we'll pull up where the cash has gone, and then we'll break it down. First off, the Giants open up as 4-point dogs. That moves to 3 at most books. Pinnacle, Heritage are still offering the Giants minus 3.5 at plus money. So is Bet Online at plus 100. The rest of the books have moved to a 3, a juiced 3. This total opened up at 42.5. We see 40.5s on the board everywhere, really, except for Sports Interaction. So the cash flow here, we have 8,070 tickets in. Again, this is Tuesday night at 8:14 p.m. Eastern, so a lot will change in 24 hours when this kicks off. So it kicks off in 24 hours and 6 minutes. And the line predictor keeps saying that the New York Giants will go to plus 3 at plus 105 or plus 3.5 at minus 120, depending on what you want. And here we go, 8,070 tickets in. On the spread, 52% of the tickets and 52% of the cash on Washington, and the market quickly moving towards the New York Giants. On the money line, 56 and 70% for the Giants, 56% of tickets, 70% of the cash. Then for the total, we have 54% of tickets on the under, but just 22% of the cash. That's a very, very interesting spot. So some cappers thinking that 40.5 is too low. Dommy Gun says, I originally liked the over 42, but Fitz out changed all of that. Giants got their season off the ground with a disappointing start. 27-13 home loss to the Broncos. Daniel Jones, 22 of 37 for 253 yards. Threw a 37-yard touchdown to Sterling Shepard, but he was up to his old gaffes. He was up to his old tricks. Lost a fumble in the red zone with the Giants down 27. It was a backbreaker. Saquon Barkley did not look good. 10 carries for 26 yards, Bebsie. I really want you to touch on Saquon. His longest run was 5 yards. This Giants defense could not step up when they needed to. The Broncos were 7 for 15 on third down and 3 for 3 on fourth down. And then Pro Bowl tight end Evan Ingram, of course, missed the game with a calf injury. Washington opened the season with a tough 2016 loss at home versus the Chargers. Ryan Fitzpatrick, they lose him to a right hip injury midway through the second quarter. He's on injured reserve. He'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Heineke comes in. So please touch on this as well, Bebsie. Fitz did not look good in that quarter and a half. 3 of 6 for 13 yards, rushed once for 2 yards. Heineke came in and did look good. 11 for 15, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Also, Antonio Gibson ran 20 times for 90 yards, but he fumbled the ball twice, losing once. The fumble was extremely costly. Montez Sweat and Jonathan Allen each had sacks, but the Chargers were able to go 14 for 19 on third down. No team was better on third down in week 1 than the Chargers. Herbert gashed Washington secondary for 337 yards. William Jackson did get an interception. A lot of things to talk about. Let's start with the Giants. Your expectations for them here as a dog. Do you agree with the market movement, first of all? What do you think is going on with Saquon Barkley? And take it away.
Look, I do. I understand why they're a dog. The Giants have been pretty much the worst team in the NFL for the last 4-5 years now. They just collectively, they cannot get it together. I don't think hiring Jason Garrett as an offensive coordinator is helping. Daniel Jones he's not making that jump that everybody thought he might. You know, he had promise in his rookie season. He occasionally throws a nice ball, and then he occasionally throws one of the worst balls I've ever seen. He doesn't protect the ball, and they're just not getting it together. And I said on Tuesday's show last week, I don't know how much this team is going to be behind their head coach right now, especially after that crazy pile-up disciplinary thing in preseason. I just don't think this team believes in each other. I don't think Saquon Barkley right now believes in himself, let alone the rest of the team. I mean, this is a guy he's just been hurt for the last 2 years. The ACL last year, the high ankle sprain the year before. He doesn't get blocks. I think his confidence is shot, and I just don't see this football team righting the ship anytime soon. Look, the Giants have some pieces on that team that should be a lot better than they are. They are not performing. And I think a lot of that falls on the head coach, but geez, I just can't, I can't get behind the Giants at all right now.
Interesting. Now, Birdie, and we have the pleasure of hopefully capping with him all season long. That'd be good to him. Sharp dude.
We do love the Birdman.
I do. I really do. I look. I do this all day, for hours and hours and hours, and my success is the most important thing, really, in improving my life. And I watch how sharp he is. He jumped on the Giants +5 Saturday. He says he still likes them at 3.5. Dommy Gun says +3.5 division dog Thursday night. All point to the Giants. Yet you don't feel that way. And at this point, with the market moving so quickly on the Giants for Thursday, I feel like I've missed it and am completely willing to let it go. I didn't bet on the Thursday night opener, and I mean, it would have been a casher, and I won my week in the football pool. I mean, I was on the Cowboys in the pool, but I was afraid to put money on. I just needed to get off to a good start just for my own confidence. Dennis Garcia says, waiting for New York to play a worse defense to take a shot with an over. It's not this week, says Dennis Garcia. So you don't want the Giants, and I've watched you beat NFL for years, and you don't like Thursday nights. What do you think about the move from Fitzpatrick to Heineke? And what do you think about this vaunted Washington defense allowing the Herbert to do whatever he wanted on third down? Take it away.
Well, I think that's a combination of a rough start, obviously, but I mean, look, Justin Herbert was phenomenal last year. He picked up right where he left off. He's got some weapons. He's got a revamped offensive line. They needed to hit the ground running. They did. Washington didn't. The move to Heineke, I mean, it's an obvious move because your starting quarterback was injured, but I mentioned this on Tuesday last week. Fitzpatrick was the bridge guy for Heineke. Well, not really a bridge guy. They were more or less still trying to figure out what they have in Heineke because he played a few games down the stretch last year, looked pretty good. So this is kind of I don't know. I'm not going to say it's a good thing, obviously. We don't want to see anybody get injured, but it's something that's an easy move for this team because they want to see what they have in Heineke anyways. So I'm curious as well. The jury's out. He hasn't played enough. When he has played, he's looked good at times. But I think this defense bounces back. There's just too much talent in that front seven to be abysmal week in and week out. And look, they had a tough opponent last week. They don't have a tough opponent this week. I'm not gonna reiterate everything I just said about the Giants, but I think this is a good spot for Washington's defense at the very least to right the ship. I am expecting a pretty low score. If I was to bet something in this game, which I'm absolutely not, I did find a first quarter play for Washington. I think it's first quarter -0.5 at +120 at Bet365. That's almost enticing enough for me to want to break my rules, but I broke rules on the weekend and it hurt me, so I'm not going to. But that's the look that I would play were this not a Thursday night game. Home team playing a shaky Giants team. Who knows? Danny Dimes might throw a pick six to start this off, and that's an easy cash. But that would be my look in this one because I don't have a ton of faith over the whole game because right now both of these teams got to get it together. Great stuff
coming in from the chat, except for Prince of the City. Who will come through in a bit, but shit versus shit was his first comment. Danny Lopez says Heineke is no Herbert. Look for Washington's front to have a better game. And Dennis Garcia says Taylor Fitzy, 0-point adjustment. Can you touch on that very quickly? I want to move on, but Taylor Fitzy, 0-point adjustment, says Dennis Garcia.
Taylor Fitzy, 0-point adjustment. I completely agree with Dennis on this. Like, I don't see a big shift in it, and I think I touched on that last Tuesday. There's a love affair with Fitzy, and a lot of it comes from him being fun and comical and having a sense of humor about himself. I mean, the guy's played for like 20 teams. He broke an NFL record starting week 1 for his 6th different franchise. The only reason he's doing that is because he's not very good. So there's a love affair that we have with Fitzy. We forget that he's really not that great. I don't think the shift to Heineke is much of a drop.
I often talk about the psychology behind winning and losing. I often talk about a book called The Undoing Project by Michael Lewis. which for me was the best gambling book I've ever read in my life and had nothing to do with gambling. When you are winning and you're up money and you see that fucking money and you can taste it, feel the fucking cash, you don't make the same risks. You don't need to. You don't reach. You make smarter decisions. When you start losing and you start piling up a few losses, you start risking. You start looking for bigger lines. You start looking for ways to fix things in a hurry. So I think my card is going to be light today, and I think it's a good thing. I'm going to sit back as a fucking winner and feel good about this shit. So there's
you don't need to get too excited and start making silly decisions. That's what I did with my props on Sunday. I apologize. I will be more disciplined. I tried to break the stigma of being a coward, and you know what? I'm gonna go right back to being me. Huge coward.
Well, if you had have stuck with that, you'd be 3-1 because you wouldn't have made prop bets for week 1. But look, Bebsie, we're just getting started, and you are so upset about your week 1, and you're just 6-7. So a lot of opportunity for you to get that shit back. Razor Sharp picks in the house as shot time. This is extremely serious shit, Razor, and we got to stay focused. That's your Thursday nighter. We move on to Sunday, September 19th. And we open up with the Bengals at the Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. Let's first start with the market moves here. And this game is an absolute beauty. I can't wait for it. The Bears open up -3, -102 at Pinnacle. They're now -3 at +109. So there's been an 11-cent move to the Bears. This total has had very little movement, a 5-cent move to the under. It was slightly juiced to the over at Pinnacle, and I'm always going to use opening lines at Pinnacle, and they're not the first out to the market anymore, but I just respect their market moves. So that's where we have over there. Then we move over to the cash flow in this spot. Just 4,615 tickets in, so enough for us to make some decisions. And the early money coming in on the Bengals. 61% of the tickets on the Bengals and 85% of the cash on the Bengals. And you have to ask yourself, how do you rank the Minnesota Vikings? I mean, I think that's the first and foremost look here when you see all this money moving towards the Bengals. From a total standpoint, you have 44% of the tickets on the under, but 52% of the cash on the under. DX Filer in the house, Coco Bongo ready to get to work. Let's go. Bengals started their season with a big 27-24 win over the Vikings. Joe Burrow, 20-27, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jamar Chase was excellent. He was everything that Burrow said he was going to be, and the reason why they drafted him when they could have got Sewell. 5 catches for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. T. Higgins, 4 catches for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. Joe Mixon was healthy and was a monster. 29 times he ran for 127 yards and 1 touchdown. He also caught 4 passes for 23 yards. He has got a swag about him. He's just got this toughness about him, and he's a monster. And if they want to play, nickel and dimes, then Mixon is going to run and run and run. On defense, B.J. Hill got off to a strong start with 2 sacks. Ogunjobi added 1. The Bears were outclassed in all facets of their 34-14 loss at the Rams, but one game does not a season make, and we got to talk about the overreactions that happened from week 1 to week 2. Andy Dalton, 27 for 38 for 206 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. I want nothing to do with Andy Dalton. I only want to fade Andy Dalton for the rest of his career. And when Justin Fields came in for those few snaps, like I was on the Rams -7.5 and the team total under 17.5. And the only time I got concerned when I saw Justin Fields run out there, and I was like, oh no, because I wasn't sure if the Rams defense was prepared for what Fields brought to the table. He was 2 for 2 for 10 yards through the air, and he ran once for a 3-yard TD. I think this is the opportunity to play him more, and I think that they will. Marquise Goodwin led the receivers with 4 catches for 45 yards. Cole Kmet, 5 catches for 42 yards. Dalton didn't complete a pass for over 19 yards. I mean, just stop with this. Yes, you didn't want to send Justin Fields to the slaughter. I get it, but stop. Allen Robinson, 6 passes for 35 yards. He didn't get a reception for longer than 9 yards. As you predicted, Bebsie Montgomery was a beast, 16 rushes for 108 yards and 1 touchdown. The Bears' defense was gashed all night long. 6 of Stafford's first 7 full drives, 375 yards. Oh, they put up scores. 6 of 7 first drives, 375 yards of offense. This once impressive, vaunted, spectacular even front 7 could sustain no pressure on Stafford. 1 sack on the night. Roquan Smith was the only one doing any damage out there. Jason Peters, of course, 39. He injures himself, his quad early in the third quarter. Come on. And then the backup, Larry Borum, out later with an ankle injury. And nose tackle Eddie Goldman inactive with a knee and ankle injury. And nickelback Duke Shelley also sat out. So I don't want to overreact to the loss week 1 from the Bears, but I certainly don't want to back the Bears with the Red Rocket under center. Bebsie, take it away, Bengals Bears.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Jimmy, because I think it's an overreaction, but I also think this whole situation is a double overreaction. That's why you're seeing the public come in on the Bengals right now, is because the Bengals won, the Bears got embarrassed, but the Bears played a Super Bowl contender. The Bengals played the Vikings. So let's pump the brakes. It's 1 week. I don't think that the Bears are going to be abysmal every single week. I think they've got to work out some kinks. I think Andy Dalton's going to be on an extremely short leash. I think you'll see more Fields early on. And I really think, if Matt Nagy's smart, if they're losing going into the second half, I think you see Justin Fields trot out there, because this fan base isn't going to tolerate a ton of Andy Dalton. They already don't want him in there. We know what Andy Dalton can do. We've seen flashes of what Justin Fields can do in the NFL so far in preseason and now the first game. My knock as a Buckeyes fan on Fields is the only thing I can really knock him on is he hangs onto the ball a little bit too long, but he's not your typical Buckeyes quarterback. So I think really short leash for Andy Dalton. I think this could be a situation where if you want a live bet as soon as it looks like Fields is coming in, maybe throw something down. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in the Bengals yet. I really like Joe Burrow. Man, the guy's a great player. He looked pretty solid coming off that knee injury, which is impressive because not a lot of quarterbacks come off an ACL and play that well. But it's just it's too much uncertainty for me. If I was going to look at a play here, it might be the over. But there's nothing for me in this game.
Great stuff coming in from the chat. And Jose, please take over too. I don't mean to be. There's so many comments. I'm like, I just feel my hand reaching over just to get up on the screen. First of all, I don't think that early money is public money at all. So when we do these shows on Tuesday, I think the movement will be sharp money. So that's first off. Slats45 says, how do the Bears not start Fields here? And then some interesting points from the chat. Birdie says, if you like Cincy, take it now, unless you feel the Bears switch to Fields. Sharp money on Bengals line isn't moving until Bears announce quarterback. Once Dalton is announced, this 3 goes away. And he says, no play for me. Viper says Fields needs to start. So Trusty says, I'm not touching a Bears game until Fields starts. And
yeah, and I don't blame them for that. They're more predictable under Fields because Fields is at least competent. Andy Dalton. I know Birdie said it's a revenge game for Andy Dalton, but I just don't see Andy Dalton getting revenge. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm with a lot of the chat here. I say stay off this game, especially stay off the Bears until we know who their quarterback is. But I do believe that if they're losing going in the second half, Nagy's going to feel that pressure, and I think you might see Fields take over.
Male redheads almost never get revenge. Female redheads, that's a different story. Diehard MMA podcast, Ryan Clint says, I think we might have an over on our hands here. Bears offense is better with the new quarterback, and the D's not what it was. Yeah, better than Trubisky. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know if that's true. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't think of Dalton that highly unless he's a huge dog. And Clint says, since he isn't as good as they looked against my Vikings. And I can't wait to talk about the Vikings spot. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page with that.
And then Dommy Gun says that Nagy said he won't start until week 4. Nagy said today no Fields till week 4 at the earliest. So, I cap all sports, and it's a battle. It's a fucking battle. And we're going to come here on Tuesdays, and the markets are going to have already moved, and I've got to maybe step back. But here, I understand why the Bengals at +3 are a play. I do. I think. Okay, talk to me about this Bears defense, because my man R, he's Scarborough. No, he's not Scarborough. He's in downtown Toronto with us. What do I mean Scarborough? He's just a little over on the east side, but he's downtown Toronto with us, and he says that front seven is elite for the Chicago Bears. Do you agree with that?
Is it what? Sorry.
Elite. They're an elite front seven.
I think they certainly were. They obviously didn't play like that this week, but again, like Matt Stafford getting the ball out quick to some weapons. That running game, though, Darrell Henderson had some moments, but all in all, I think they were elite. I think they're very good. I think elite is a push right now. Khalil Mack's got to step it up, but they're very good. I think they were formerly elite.
Well, after all of this talk, I do not think that Dalton can get revenge. But I don't – you know what? Before I move on the Bengals +3, I want to hear what we have to say about the Vikings. So I'm going to leave that as a question mark right now, and I'm going to leave that. Ski Prof says, Jimmy, do you ever attack the early line Sunday night or Monday morning, or you prefer to wait? So if I was doing this alone, like I used to, then I would attack the Sunday and Monday. But right now, I think that I am better working with you guys, working with the chat, and working with the experts we have on camera, rather than just going it alone. And I also like to know the market moves. I like to know where the early money is. I think if I was more skilled, Ski, I would get in on Sundays and Mondays. When we talk about the sports I do best at, like NHL, I don't need to hear anything from anybody. So I think that's the best way for me to answer this. Brady says, other option, Jimmy, is to wait, take Bengals money line once you get a better feel. I think I'll have that feel after we break down the Vikings. All right, let's move on next. 1 p.m. Eastern, Houston, Texas at Cleveland Browns. I cashed on both these bad boys on Sunday and felt real good doing it. This opened with the Browns minus 11.5. Now it's minus 12.5, and this total is sitting at 48 with no movement. When we get into the cash flow here, we have 5,850 tickets in. 57% of the tickets and 62% of the cash are on the Cleveland Browns. And then we have 40% of the tickets on the under, but 60% of the cash on the under, and we see no movement here. So I made a big deal about Nick Caserio, and I was right. I think that was the best angle I had, and in the entire week 1 was that Nick Caserio, if he didn't come over from the Patriots, he would have had a ton more respect, but Belichick gets the only respect and love over there. He was in charge of player personnel, or well, we know Belichick, but he had a hand in player personnel for 20 years. He came in here, and the only way to right a ship that's broken and fucked up is to create competition. And by signing the defense to only 1- and 2-year contracts, you create competition. Tyrod Taylor was the right person to bring in. I love everything he did. Look, I didn't take the over 4.5 wins, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Texans are the player, anything like that. But I love what Nick Caserio did. I just to out of the phoenix from the ashes of Bill O'Brien's fucking dumpster fire, I think that he has done a spectacular job, and who knows, maybe they don't win again. But it was a tumultuous offseason, and they got up to a great start. Tyrod Taylor, 21 for 33 for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also ran 4 times for 40 yards. Brandon Cooks, 132 yards receiving. Farrell Brown caught 4 passes for 67 yards. Mark Ingram was so excited to have the opportunity to be the number 1 guy, 85 yards rushing, TD in his debut. Vincent Taylor was carted off the field with an injury, and it was an ankle injury. Now he needs 6 weeks and surgery. That sucks. But, man, this defense was buzzing. They picked off Lawrence 3 times. They only got 3 interceptions all of last year. The Browns opened their season with a tough 33-29 loss at Kansas City, and I'll tell you what, it was pretty predictable. And it didn't give me a lot of confidence moving forward with all my Browns futures, to be honest with you. I really felt that the Chiefs were more vulnerable with the injuries and with Matthew and the Honey Badger dealing with COVID. I thought they were more vulnerable in week 1 than maybe they'll ever be. And it was the Browns' 5th straight loss to the Chiefs. It was they continued their NFL record streak of 17 straight losing season openers. They've lost season openers 17 straight years. I mean, unfucking believable. They led 22-10 at the half. And when Kareem Hunt put them up 29-20, and I hate doing this shit, because it's always cost me. Anytime I look at the percentage chance of a team winning, I always lose that fucking game. 86.4% chance of winning with 10:24 left. They put up 457 yards of offense. Baker Mayfield goes 21-28 for 321 yards. I like that they kept Odell Beckham out. He said his knee didn't feel quite ready. Get ready up here, because that's where we question ODB. It's not physical. It's what the fuck's going on between his ears. Njoku caught 3 passes for 76 yards. Landry 5 catches for 71 yards. And Anthony Schwartz, man. So he had the under 18 100-meter world record. And he's I didn't realize just quite how special I got a piece of it. 3 catches for 69 yards. Nick Chubb ran 15 times for 83 yards. Kareem Hunt 6 times for 33 yards and a touchdown. Ronnie Harrison was tossed with 4:59 left in the first quarter. It was absolute bullshit. And obviously that hurt the secondary in a big way. But that fucking coach has got to be suspended for 5 or 6 games. If you're wearing khakis, then keep your hands in your fucking pockets. Don't touch these athletes. Who the fuck? I mean, it's just awful. Left tackle Jedrick Willis left in the second quarter with a ankle injury. And, yeah, of course, Harrison maybe shouldn't have slapped back, but don't let this fucking khaki wearing – oh, God, I got so angry watching that. Okay, here we go. Sorry for the long diatribe. Texans, Browns, take it away, Bebsie.
Okay, well, I'm going to start by saying this will probably be my first spot this week, but it's not – probably not what you think. So I'm going to touch a little bit on what you said. You were both right and probably not right about Nick Caserio. I agree with everything you said breakdown-wise. I think he did do an excellent job bringing competition. There's a reason I stayed off that game last week, and it was uncertainty. It was mistrust on both sides of the ball. Nick Caserio, I think I agree. Tyrod Taylor, great selection, great choice to be the starter. I like that he's created competition with a bunch of vets that are maybe not getting picked up anywhere else. But he did play a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, a team that finished dead last year. So let's not get overly excited about the Houston Texans week 1. Now, that having been said, I think this spread is too much to get excited about. Look, Cleveland, that was a hard loss. It is hard to come back because it looked like they could win. And you know, they've struggled, obviously, against the Kansas City Chiefs, who hasn't. But I do think they come out hungry. And I do think they're a much better team. Look, this Cleveland football team has a very good chance to win this division. It's a tough start. I think they bounce back this week. But the play I like is first half only. I can see a backdoor cover here, but I really like this first half. To me, I just think they run that ball hard. They're being smart with OBJ. There's no need to rush him back there, generating offense without him. The Jedrick Wills injury is something really to keep an eye on because that guy is super talented and a big part of this line. But I like Cleveland in the first half here. This is going to be my first play. Cleveland is -6.5 for the first half. Pretty much, I'm seeing 120s across the board.
Pinnacle hanging a -117 for you.
Pinnacle's got a -117. I think that'll be my first play because I really like the Brownies this year. I think they played great against one of the best teams in football in week 1. It was a tough loss. I do believe they bounced back. And look, a big part of that is I believe in Kevin Stefanski. I think he's an excellent coach. Minnesota has not been the same since he left, and he has been very good at turning this Cleveland team into a competitor.
Interesting. Gerald Jones looking at the Browns team total over. That's an interesting look, Gerald Jones, that I'm going to copy and paste here. Prince of the City said Pitt wins the division. I said it last week. Well,
I mean, Prince and I are back on the same page here.
I can tell you that knocking the favorite out of it with the Ravens, still, I've only got Browns futures for AFC and Super Bowl, and I've got the over 10.5 wins and the division, and I wanted them to get over some demons in that game, and they made some mistakes that made me pretty upset. And I know that not having Harrison on the field was a big part of it. And look, I'm very comfortable with my Browns action, and but I'm not. I want to see what they do. I want to learn here more. I want to gather information. And that's what I plan to do. Ski Prof says Ravens taking another L this week. Birdie says Browns will be fine. Okay, so Bebsie is now on the board with Browns -6.5 and -117. And I have done nothing so far in this show. We move on. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Rams at Indianapolis Colts. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's take a look here with this. Rams open up as 3-point favorites at -102. They're now -103. A 1 cent move to – oh, shit. What am I talking about? That's first half. Sorry, my son is not happy. He's looking for titty. He's not pleased. Let's hopefully – Can we get a titty in that boy's mouth? I think we just did. All right. Let's stay focused here. And Rams. And often Bebsie says to me, nobody can hear your son screaming. Could they hear
loud and clear this time?
Okay, Rams. Cool. So Rams open up as 4-point favorites at -105. They're now -102, a 3 cent move towards the Colts, and the total is sitting at 47.5. We move over to the cash flow spot, 5,775 tickets in. On the spread already, 79% of the tickets and 88% of the cash is on the Rams. That's a lot of money for there to be no market move. In fact, a 3 cent move towards the Colts. So the books having no fear about this early money on the Rams. Then from the total, they don't have the cash posted, but 85% of the tickets are on the over. Rams opened up their season with a very impressive 34-14 home beatdown of the Bears. Stafford was excellent, 20-26, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Look, his wife looked great. She looked happy to be out of Detroit. He looked completely in control. We know that Stafford and Kershaw went to the same high school, and nobody else was getting pussy in that high school. Rams scored on 6 of Stafford's first 7 full drives, 375 yards of offense. Stafford became the first player with 2 touchdown passes of more than 50 yards in his debut for a new team since Ole Gross Cup for AFL's New York Titans in 1962. His 156.1 passer rating, highest in NFL history for a quarterback that had at least 20 pass attempts in his debut with a new team. Cooper Kupp was awesome. 7 receptions for 108 yards, a touchdown. Van Jefferson, Robert Woods caught touchdowns. Darrell Henderson carried the ball 60 times for 70 yards. Jalen Ramsey had 9 tackles, 2 coming for losses. Justin Hollins, 2 sacks. Aaron Donald, 1. It was very impressive. The Colts got their season off to a disappointing start, 28-16 loss at home to the Seahawks, and it cost me. It cost me. Whenever the Seahawks needed a conversion, the Colts could do nothing to stop them. Bebsie, I want you to touch on that when you hammer away here because that caught me by surprise, and I'm not sure if it's Walden's new offense in Seattle or the confidence that Russell has with a bit of comfort on the offensive line, or is Indy's defense not nearly as good as I expected it to be? Twice Indy failed to convert fourth down attempts in Seattle territory. Wentz did not look good. The Colts have now lost 8 straight openers with 5 different starting quarterbacks, and Wentz is 0 for 6 all time against Seattle. When I read that shit, I was like, what the fuck? Who doubles up on that fucking bet? What terrible decision-making I made on this game. Wentz ends up 25-38 for 251 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran 4 times for 23 yards. He could get nothing going with his wide receivers, nothing. Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines led the team in receiving. Combined, they went for over 100 yards. Receivers were nowhere to be found. They were without starting quarterback Xavier Rhodes with a calf injury, and T.Y. Hilton wasn't there. And I don't think T.Y. Hilton's going to come back and save the day at all. Bebsie, Rams, Colts, all this money coming in on the Rams, and the books not flinching.
You know what? I understand why the books aren't flinching because I think, again, it's like these week 1 overreactions. Look, Rams come in hyped. They got their new quarterback. They look great. The Colts came in. They looked terrible. They had to get away from their game plan because they got down early against Seattle. Seattle played a great game. Their defense played very well early on. They kind of picked up where they left off at the end of last season. Now, the Seattle offense was dynamite in the first half of last season, and then they petered out. So, look, I don't think it's this new offensive coordinator. I think they start out hot. I think they've got a ton of talent, but I mean, these guys start getting beaten down. Russell slows down a bit; he gets hit. It's just it's too much of an overreaction right now. And I do believe I said last week that, and I can't talk shit because you had an astronomically better week than I did, but people who bet against Seattle in recent years don't do well. It's a bad team to bet against. It's Indy or pass for me here. I'm going to pass because it's Wentz that I don't trust. I think they will run the ball heavy. I think they run it early and often. This is why my Jonathan Taylor props couldn't cash because they couldn't run the ball or they got behind too early. So I'm still going to be looking at that Taylor Rush prop this week. I think he has a better week. And I think the Rams, excellent start, but I don't think they're going to be as dominant. I really think just like Montgomery did, Taylor's going to be able to run on this team. It's going to be a closer game than people are expecting. And look, if the public just keeps hammering the Rams and this line keeps moving, maybe the play is to sit and wait and take Indy later this week. But I'm just going to.
It's not moving. It would already have moved.
You think?
Yes, definitely. If the 88% of the cash, to me, it means that clear. And I don't want to be too clear about a situation when how many tickets we have. Sorry, that's the wrong game. We have 5,775 tickets in, but yes, clearly the market is telling me that the Colts are the play.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to touch on what Michael Ervolino is saying in the chat here. Can't bet on Wentz till he shows he can actually play again. 100%. You can't. He hasn't shown he has for a while. So, yeah.
Kev Riley leaning Indy. Dennis Garcia says Indy or pass. And Crystal Warren said he didn't have enough time to throw. If they don't adjust for that, it's only going to get worse. I think they fix it, though. So, the Colts. Okay, well, how bad are the Chicago Bears? Are they terrible? Are they going to be under 500 this year? Are they so bad with Dalton as quarterback and their defense? I thought looked terrible. That we shouldn't buy into what the Rams did at home week 1.
I just think we shouldn't buy in too much to week 1. I mean, we've seen a ton of teams fire out the gates and be terrible. We've seen a ton of teams limp out the gates and be great. I just think there's an overreaction. There's some things to work out in Chicago. One of them is obviously Andy Dalton. I think, look, I said the Bears' front seven was elite a few years ago. They're not anymore, but I still think that defense is better than they played. I think the sheer excitement of Matt Stafford and that team to no longer have Jared Goff, you get fired up. But Matt Stafford's going to take some shots. That there's going to be some bumps in the road. They will come back down to earth. That's all I'm saying is there's too much stock put into week one sometimes. It's very exciting. We're all hyped up. We see one team blow another team away, and we're like, what an incredible team. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Well, it's 1 week. And you already said it, Jimmy. A Super Bowl is not won in week one.
Yeah, one game does not a season make. But I'll tell you what, Colts +4. I think I got to go back to this well that cost me $600 on week one. And so far, I think that the Bengals +3 and the Colts +4 are going to be on my card. We're going to move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Buffalo Bills at Miami Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. We start with the market here, and we have the Bills opening up at -3.5. That's now -3. Now, you can still get a 3.5 if you shop around, but a lot of books, the majority of books have gone to 3, but heavily juiced. You can still get a 3.5 at a decent price, though. It's not a plus line 3.5. This total sitting at 48. There's been a 5-cent move to the over. A 5-cent move to the over. Bills got their season off to a surprisingly ugly start. And I didn't take Bills futures, not because I don't believe in them. I don't know. I was on Steelers week one. There was just so much hype around this team, and I expect them to be a very good football team this year. They win their first AFC East title since 95, get to the AFC Championship game first time in 27 years, and the build-up's just been huge. They were up 10-0 at the half. Last year, they were the second highest scoring offense, and they crossed midfield in 8 of their 11 drives and got 1 touchdown and 3 field goals to show for it. 1 touchdown and 3 field goals to show for it. There's 5,422 tickets in. 78% of the tickets are on the Bills and 68% of the cash. It's interesting. And then another very interesting point, 68% of the tickets on the over and 97% of the cash on the over, and the market not moving at a point or a half point, nothing. And the market not scared of this early money towards the over. Josh Allen, 30 of 51 for 270 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Ran 11 times for 72 yards. Stephon Diggs, 9 catches for 69 yards. Cole Beasley, 8 for 60. Emmanuel Sanders, 4 for 52. Devin Singletary ran 11 times for 72 yards. And Zach Moss was inactive. Dolphins opened up their season with a big 17-16 win at New England. I'm thankful that I got the confidence late to back the Dolphins, and I needed a 3.5 and -125, so I'm not really proud of it. But Tua, 16-27 for 202 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He also ran for a 3-yard touchdown. Devontae Parker, main weapon, 4 catches for 81 yards. Jalen Waddle looked good, 4 catches for 61 yards. Myles Gaskin led the ground attack with 9 carries for 49 yards, and we know he's dangerous as a receiver, 5 catches for 27 yards. Their offense was 2 for 2 in the red zone, but just 4 for 11 on third down. And the Patriots were driving to win that game. And Damian Harris, lost the ball at the 9, and everything changed. They lose Raekwon Davis to a knee injury. Here we go. Bills, Dolphins, Bebsie, take it away.
Look, I think, again, maybe some overreactions here. Maybe not. I think the Bills right the ship this week. I'm not saying they're going to win. What I'm saying is Josh Allen did not look good in week one. He missed a lot of passes. His accuracy looked like Josh Allen of old, not Josh Allen that was an MVP candidate last year. I think they clear that up. That said, Miami's still a good football team. They got an excellent defense. Their biggest question mark is still Tua. I think Tua Tagovailoa looked pretty decent last week. He looked better than I expected. But my look here, does this not feel like too many points? Does this not feel like an awful lot of points in a game that should be a struggle? Look, I lean Bills here. I do think they bounce back. I do think they can win this game. I have more questions about Miami, especially coming off that, pretty emotional win over the Patriots. But I just think I'm seeing 48s on the board, and that to me is an awful lot of points for two teams that, unless the Bills go off, I don't see this getting up that high.
It's an interesting look on the under. Is seeing the market and all the books having no fear whatsoever with all the money coming in on the over to move it. So, and yeah, I find that a very, very intriguing look here. I also think that the Dolphins are probably the spot at plus 3.5 at home. And look, the Bills can come in and win this game, but I think a really important point was made by Dennis Garcia here. He said Miami has the secondary to do exactly what Pittsburgh did. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think here's the problem though: is it wasn't just the secondary in Pittsburgh. It was the fact that there was pressure in Josh Allen's face, and he was off target. He missed a lot of throws on the weekend. So, is Miami going to be able to generate the pass rush that makes Josh Allen uncomfortable again? Is Josh Allen going to regress to those mistakes he made as a young player in the league and seemed to have cleaned up last year? I don't think he will, but it's important to get pressure in his face to do that. So I don't know. I'm not comfortable to bet one way or the other, to be honest with you. I could talk myself in and out of either side of it. But the under does intrigue me because this feels like, it's a divisional game. Neither team has a particularly potent looking offense right now. Neither team has a particularly impressive looking run game. So that would lean towards an over because they're going to throw a lot. But I don't know, 48 just seems high to me. Am I crazy?
No, I think that you are right. R agrees. He says there's over 48, no way. What do you think of what Trust? Let's move on after this Trusty comment. Trusty says, I think I'm off this game. Bills look bad in my opinion. I don't trust them. But, and he doesn't say but there, but it worked. Dolphins got lucky. They played a rookie quarterback and did not look good in the win. So overreactions here. Yeah,
I agree. Trusty's spot on right there. Again, this is why the under is my only considered look right now.
I like it. So if I was to be sitting here come Sunday and my spots on the 1:00 games right now were Bengals +3, Colts +4, Dolphins +3.5, and possibly the under 48, I'm pretty comfortable. Pretty comfortable with that situation. And I like seeing all this money coming in on the over and no movement by the books, right? There's been no fear whatsoever on this over. Let me just double check that. There's been a 5-cent move at Pinnacle to the over. Wow.
I think in order for them to do that, the Bills have to go off. And you have to ask yourself, do you think the Bills can go off? Because I don't see Tua putting up a ton of points.
I like both of those. All right. I like it. I like where we're going. We're building a card here. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Next spot on the board, New England Patriots at New York Jets. Patriots 0-1, as are the Jets. We're at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. East Rutherford, New Jersey. Let's pull up the market first, and that is the Patriots being hammered. We'll look at the actual cash, but open up at -3.5, now -5.5. I mean, we know the injuries before the season started to this Jets defense, to Lawson, to Davis, and now we have injuries aplenty from game one. Offensively, most important is Becton, Mekhi Becton out. I have exactly what he's out when I look at the notes, but I believe it's 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. So 5.5-point favorites are the Patriots now. This total sitting at 43. And there's been a 9-cent move towards the under. And a few books have moved. Pinnacle hasn't. And BetOnline's moved all the way to 42. And Heritage has moved to 41.5. So a lot of movement, again, towards the under. You cashed on the under in the Patriots game on week one. Bebsie and I tailed the Sonny Vega first half under. And that was a $181.82 cash. Patriots opened their season with a disappointing 17-16 loss at the Patriots. Mac Jones, 29 of 39 for 281 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and looked to be leading his team to a game-winning drive before Damian Harris fumbled at the 9. And it was a tough break for Damian Harris. He won that job, deservedly so, 23 carries for 100 yards, and it hurts. It hurts. He handled it right and said all the right things. Nelson Aguilar, nice start in the Patriots uniform. 5 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Jacoby Myers, 6 passes for 44 yards. Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry both looked dangerous. They combined for 8 catches and 73 yards. James White looked dangerous out of the backfield, 6 catches, 49 yards. We didn't see this offense look dangerous all of last year, and there was times that it looked dangerous, but they put up 16 points. Defensively, they were clearly missing Stephon Gilmore. Tua was able to hit deep passes, which is something we don't usually see, and they lose their offensive tackle left in the first quarter with a right calf injury. So that's the Patriots. Jets opened their season with a 19-14 loss to Carolina. Zach Wilson, 20 of 37 for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He dealt with the same issues that Darnold had to deal with. The Panthers sacked him 6 times, picked him off once, and then Becton 4 to 6 weeks with a dislocated kneecap. Corey Davis looked very dangerous, catching 5 passes for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. He looks primed and ready to go. I know that he had to deal with a lot, the death of his brother, but Bebsie and I, when he was drafted, thought he was going to be a superstar wide receiver, and maybe he still can be. The Jets got nothing out of their rushing attack. They rushed 17 times for 45 yards. Tevin Coleman rushed 9 times for 24 yards. Not a nice debut for him. They lose their punter, Braden Mann, to a left knee injury, and then Matt Amendola took over punting duties, and he actually looked pretty good. Doesn't look like a huge loss. So Jamie Sherwood, ankle injury. LaMarcus Joyner, elbow injury. Blake Cashman left with a hamstring injury. So Joyner, their safety, it's a tricep injury, and he's out for the season. Braden Mann is a knee injury. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Sherwin has a sprained ankle, and Blake Cashman has a hamstring injury and will miss a couple weeks. 5.5 points now to the Jets. Do the Patriots deserve to be 5.5-point favorites? Bebsie, take it away.
Look, it's Pats or pass in this one. And I got to agree with Alvin here. This is a stay-away game. Alvin Smith said stay-away game. I agree 100%. I do think if you absolutely must bet this game, you got to bet the Pats here. A lot of that has to do with the stat that Jose posted. 13-0 at home against rookie quarterbacks is Bill Belichick. So it's going to be – look, it's going to be a tough slog for this – new quarterback, new head coach, new offensive coordinator for the Jets, especially now dealing with all these injuries. I understand why they brought Tevin Coleman over from San Francisco. He's going to help people learn this running system, but Tevin Coleman has been awful for years. If you can't get yards running in Kyle Shanahan's offense, you're not getting them elsewhere. Maybe he's going to get less touches this week, but I have no trust in either team right now. If gun to my head, I'm taking the Pats, but in reality, this game I just can't have any interest in.
And yes, the mix up with graphics. Yes, the Jets are the home squad here. I agree. So if the Jets can't get anything done offensively, and Zach Wilson's running for his life, is this just another underbet with Mac Jones not making mistakes, not putting himself in risky situations? Is this just clearly another underbet?
Well, yeah, probably. I mean, I want to make this very clear, especially for the Brady stans who might lose their shit when I say this. But does this not feel like the way they're building this team is the way Bill Belichick built a team around a rookie, or not a rookie rather, but a young Tom Brady? You've got a quarterback who just doesn't need to make mistakes. Like, you just got to keep him from making mistakes. That's it. And then they'll let everybody else do it. They're not going to have Mac Jones throwing for 400 yards. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, that's probably the best look, Jimmy, is taking the under again.
Looks like sharp money's on the over at this point. 49% of the tickets on the over, 78% of the cash on the over. but I don't know if I should say sharp money because they've moved this total down. Again, once it's moved a point and a half, 2 points, I can't tell when the bets were put in. 87% of the tickets, 94% of the spread bets on the New England Patriots. Could be a smash and grab. Thank you for the kind words, Craig Wood. Could be a smash and grab. Could be because
Did I say Mike Jones?
Oh, you're thinking of hip hop, man. Mike Jones. Do we think?
McCorkle.
Do we think? See, I don't know if I can sit here and say that I believe. Okay, so Dennis Garcia says we saw a lot of good stuff from Mac Jones, and I agree with that. And that offense looked good, gaining yards, just didn't look good when they needed to produce. This could be. I'm starting to think this is a smash and grab. I'm starting to think that the Patriots just beat this Jets team badly. No, I thought the Panthers were going to beat them badly, and they were up 16-0 at the half. And with the fact that all this money is on the over, Burgundy Bet says, Jimmy, the line opened at -3.5. Isn't the value gone at this point? I mean, look, Burgundy Bets, we just watched me make a terrible blunder on the Panthers in this exact situation. So you're probably right. And it's an important thing for you to have said. What did you think about this Patriots offense? Let's touch on that for a few seconds and we'll move on.
Honestly, McCorkle has impressed me so far. I didn't have a ton of faith of him coming out of Bama, probably because of the history of most Bama quarterbacks. But I said this last week, what he does really well, actually incredibly, impressively well, is anticipate where guys are going to be. He is so good at throwing to a spot before the wide receiver has made the break. So, look, he's going to be in a situation to succeed. This is a smart offense where it's a lot of short throws. So I do like a lot of things about it. But again, it's a rookie quarterback. They don't have any real significant studs weapon-wise. They got a solid O-line. I just think I can't be too excited about it. I will say that Mac Jones has outplayed my expectations already.
I think this is a smash and grab now. After thinking about what's going on with the Jets and all the injuries, the mounting injuries. Okay, but I do see all the cash on the over, and that has me wanting to stay off the total. Unless I wanted the Jets team total under, which I'm not sure of. But I'll write down. But I think it's a Pats smash and grab, and yeah, I missed the line. So, yeah, Kev, yeah, it was a monster week one for me. Okay, let's move on to our next spot on the board. But I certainly think that I'm going to be moving on the Pats, and if I'm 2 weeks in and have had these bad losses on just getting bad lines, then I need to stop myself. But I see why all this money came in on the Pats. I get it. All right, let's move on to the next spot. San Francisco 49ers at Philadelphia Eagles. We're at Lincoln Financial Field, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Look, the Niners were up 38-10 in the fourth quarter, and I pushed by -8 at +105. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. The Niners open up at -3. They're now -3.5. So we've seen a half-point move already. We'll check the cash flow and see if that's the case. This total opened up at 48. It's now at 50. There is a 50.5 at Bet Online. When we move over to the cash flow here, we have 5,876 tickets in. 76% of the tickets, 75% of the cash is on the 49ers. 59% of the tickets, just 12% of the cash on the over. So big bets being placed on this under. Bebsie, did the 49ers stay out east or did they fly back?
They stayed out.
They stayed out. So Garoppolo, he lost a fumble on his first snap, but 17 for 25, 314 yards. Found Debo all over the field. If Debo didn't lose that fumble. I mean, it would have been one of the greatest games of his life. 9 catches, 189 yards. Elijah Mitchell came in for Raheem Mostert and looked good. So injuries, as always, rearing its ugly head. Verrett done for the year. Is that confirmed?
That's confirmed, and now Mostert is also confirmed done for the year.
Greenlaw, what's his groin issue? Is he not going to be out for too long?
Day to day, they're saying.
And I was shocked when I saw that they might sign Richard Sherman.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. They signed who is it? Drake Kirkpatrick, and they also signed somebody else back there.
Okay. Jalen Hurts threw 3 touchdown passes, first to Devonta Smith, and Sirianni looked very good. Shout out to Birdie for being so bullish on the Eagles plus 3.5. And, once I got 3.5 on the Dolphins and the Texans, I actually meant to bet the Eagles, but it's my fault for waiting that long and being so overwhelmed trying to get the last bets in. And, and I'd love to hear what Prince of the City thinks about these Eagles now, because even though I didn't get the bet in for the Eagles, I have saved a lot of money that I would have lost on the Eagles had it not been for Prince of the City. Hurts 27 to 35, 264 yards. He rushed 62 times on 7 carries. I did get that in. I did get the Hurts over prop, and shout out to Sharpie for handing that out on Sunday's morning show. We had 6 different cappers on Sunday's morning show, and we're going to keep doing that. We're going to have 6 different cappers every Sunday. We're going to keep switching it up, and it's going to be really, really fun. The Eagles were much more imposing up front. Their offensive line had been so bad just because it was decimated with injuries, but Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson are back. Mailata got that huge contract, $64 million 4-year contract, but $41 million guaranteed. He looked very good, and the Eagles look good. Prince of the City says Eagles will get smashed, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this spot. Money moving towards the Niners. They're 3.5-point favorites right now, and this total is sitting at 50, almost 50.5 at Bet Online, and all the money is being bet on the under while it's going up. So probably waiting for the right time in a pound situation. Take it away, Bebsie.
Well, first of all, I'm seeing some real overreactions all over the board here. I'm seeing them in the chat. I'm seeing them on the radio. First, I'm going to answer Burgundy Bets here. Just breathe about Brandon Ayuk. He was injured for the last 10 days of camp. He was on a pitch count. That's why you didn't see a ton of them. Yeah, a little bit concerning that he didn't get a single target, but he was open a few times. Let's face it, Jimmy Garoppolo is not always the best at getting through his progressions. So I think maybe breathe a little bit on that. I'm also going to touch on this. Look, people talking about the Eagles like they just knocked off Tampa. They beat the Falcons. The Falcons, okay, they destroyed the Falcons, but who's rushing Jalen Hurts? Like, who's getting in his face on the Falcons? Much different defensive front here in San Francisco. They will pressure him. There's a lot of people, too, being like, oh, the 49ers got gashed on the ground. Did they? They gave up 114 yards on the ground. Is that getting gashed? I don't know about that. I think that's they got hit early. They adjusted. And also, Jimmy, that's oh, thank you. I'm being brought a drink, which is pretty sweet. The other factor, too, is, yes, that score was very close at the end between the Niners and the Lions. But look at how many things had to go in favor of Detroit to close a gap. Like, first of all, when it was still a 4-score lead, or no, it was a 3-score, it was a 24-point lead, Jimmy Garoppolo missed Deebo Samuel on a slant. The game is completely over if that completion is made. But then, you have turnovers. You have George Kittle getting that kickoff off the face. They closed the gap. Look, the Niners dominated that game against a very bad Detroit team. The Eagles beat a very bad Falcons team. So everyone needs to pump the brakes a bit. Yes, the Niners are already looking at brutal injuries. That Verrett injury is huge. They better hope Josh Norman is ready to go this week and isn't terrible. But this defensive front will make up for the lack of talent in that secondary right now. I think this is Niners or no play. I think if you're putting money on the Eagles right now, I even think I saw Eagles money line in the chat. Whew, I don't know if you want to play that fast and loose with your money. I don't think it's impossible. I just don't think it's realistic.
Is there a move for you here in Niners Eagles?
I hate betting on my own team. I'm probably going to look at props. Yeah, the Mostert injury does hurt, but the fact that you can put in a 6th-round draft pick rookie and he throws up over 100 yards. We're going to see Trey Sermon this week. We're going to see more Jermichael Hasty. I really think this offense isn't going to skip a beat. The big injury right now is the Verrett injury.
Yeah, no move for me at this point here. Burgundy Bet says it's exactly why it's so important to get early lines. Anyone who had -6.5 or -7.5 covered. I was so confident, Burgundy Bet, that I forgo this. I went for the 8 at +105 for a plus line because I was so confident. Michael Overlina says 49ers team total Eagles D is weak. What do you think of this market move to the over? It's a pretty heavy move towards it.
I think that's because both of these offenses balled out last week. And, the Niners defense, which was supposed to be a vaunted defense, ended up giving up a ton of points. But again, a lot of this was garbage time points. And then it became not looked at as garbage time because it was a 1-score game late. But the Niners had taken out half of their starters on defense. So they had to put them back into it, sure. But if you just looked at the stats and the score and didn't watch the game, I can understand why you would think that way. But if you watched the game, you saw a Niners team that was in control for the entire game except for a few minutes in the fourth quarter.
All right. So no move for Bebsie or I. And we'll see. Sunday, we'll see if Bebsie adds some prop bets there or if there's any change for us. We move on to more 1 p.m. Eastern action. Las Vegas Raiders at Pittsburgh Steelers. We're at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Start with the market here in Vegas, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh opening up as 5.5-point favorites. They still are, but there's been a 12-cent move to the Raiders. And now at Pinnacle, if you want Pittsburgh -5.5, they'll give you a +103. This total opened up at 48. It is now at 47. Now let's go to the cash here. 3,694 tickets in. 42% of the tickets are on the Raiders. 67% of the cash on the Raiders. And it seems like a recency bias is in play. Then you have 52% of the tickets and 99% of the cash on the over, which is wild. Let's break it down. Raiders opened their season with that 33-27 win last night over the Ravens. And a lot happened in that game, and a lot changed. And I had the Ravens first half -3 with a lot of confidence. And it wasn't me just believing in Harbaugh and what his numbers are in the opening game of the season or what his numbers are in the although I have them when we break down the Ravens. But it was me not trusting the entire Raiders brain trust. Derek Carr was excellent. 34-56, 435 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Darren Waller, he just looks so dangerous. 10 catches, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. Brian Edwards, 4 catches, 81 yards. Hunter Renfrow, 6 catches for 70 yards. The running game was invisible. Marcus Mariota had a 31-yard scamper, but that was about it. Josh Jacobs, 10 carries for 34 yards. Defensively, Max Crosby was dangerous all game long, all over the field. 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. They lose Denzel Good with a knee injury. Ngakwe has a hamstring injury. We're not sure how bad either of those are. And Gerald McCoy was taken off on a cart, fourth quarter knee injury. Steelers got their season off to an excellent start, 23-16 win at Buffalo. We talked about whether TJ Watt was going to get the extension. He got it, a 4-year, $112 million extension. He's an NFL's top-paid defensive player, and he was awesome. I mean, he was just 2 sacks, a forced fumble. That's his 18th forced fumble. It's the most in the NFL since he was drafted in 2017. And his sack total now at 51.5. Their offense did next to nothing in the first half. Their defense kept them in it. They got 53 yards and 3 first downs in the first half, and they were down 10-0. Big Ben ends up 18 for 32 for 188 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I think we should get used to that stat line for him. Juju Smith-Schuster, 4 catches for 52 yards. Claypool, 3 for 45. Deontay Johnson caught the lone touchdown pass. Najee Harris did not have a great game, 16 carries for 45 yards. And Robert Spillane hurt himself in pregame warm-ups. Minkah Fitzpatrick and Devin Bush were all over the field. Their defense looks so dangerous. Market moving towards the Las Vegas Raiders right now. Steelers 5.5-point favorites, and this total sitting at 47, dropping a point from the opener at Pinnacle at 48. Take it away, Bebsie.
I think if you bet the Raiders, you're nuts right now. We all watched that game last night, and it was exciting. That was one of the best Monday Night Football games I have seen in a long time. That last quarter was electric. Overtime with the interception off the helmet. Come on, that was so much fun. Let's not pretend that the Raiders are going to be a consistent football team this year. Defensively, they have a ton of question marks. Offensively, they have a ton of question marks. Also, by the end of that game, Josh Jacobs, who I'm a big fan of, was nursing his foot. Again, the guy's always seemed to be playing with a limp. And 2 weeks in a row playing well for him never seems to materialize. What we saw from the Steelers is them weathering the storm against a very talented Buffalo team and then coming out and winning it and playing exactly the kind of football that they have to play with an aging Big Ben. It's just, dish, game manage. He doesn't have to do too much anymore. I want to see if this line moves a little bit. If you can get a little bit more, if people keep wanting to jump on the Raiders here, again, this is a week 1 overreaction. Everybody's got to breathe. This time of the year, you see something happen, you get so excited. I forget who was it. Crystal Warren saying earlier, are we not forgetting how bad Tampa was at the start of the year last year, and they won the Super Bowl? It's week 1. Breathe, everyone.
Ixnillis, other than Waller, who else catching the ball? He had almost 20 targets. I think the Steelers can slow him down. The Steelers shut down a very dangerous Bills offense. Are they going to then shut down this Raiders offense? Sorry,
I do have to comment on this. Prince of the City saying very nervous now. It's like Bebsie is reading everything I am writing and on the same side. I hate that we're on the same side right now. I feel nervous as hell about this, Prince of the City. We are normally doing this. Somehow we're on the same page right now. It'll change. We'll get back to our ways of butting heads, but for now, it seems we're on the same page.
Do you think this Raiders offense is going to get shut down?
I do think this Raiders offense is going to get shut down. Look, there was a ton of turmoil for this Ravens team going into the season. They lost not 1, not 2, but 3 running backs. Then they lost Marcus Peters. They really didn't seem to have much of a pass rush at all. So now you're coming up against the Steelers, who have a very, very happy TJ Watt right now. And just this defensive front in general for the Steelers. Devin Bush is back. They've got a nasty defensive group there, and I just don't think the Raiders are going to have as much fun this week against the Steelers.
Do you expect more offense from the Steelers? Because Ben does not look capable of providing it. So is this over the spot to attack a 48-47? And look, I know that initially there's all this money on the over, but we're talking about 3,694 tickets. There's going to get to over 100,000 tickets. So is a Raiders team total under or full game under in play?
What are we looking at here for numbers?
47.
But what's specifically the Raiders?
I will pull that up right now. But what do you think of the full game at 47?
Honestly, my play would be under. I don't know if I would get too excited about that personally. I think that's probably right around where it lands. So I don't see an obvious play if that's what you're getting at.
Raiders are at 20.5 juice to the under, and the Steelers are at 26.5 juice to the over.
Sorry, say that again. I was scanning the chat there.
Raiders are at 20.5 juice to the under, and the Steelers are at 26.5 juice to the over.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at the Raiders, I'm looking at an under here. Again, it's not just the fact that I think there's overreactions here with the Raiders. We have talked time and again, and we're not the only ones who've talked about this. Football analysts talk about this everywhere. Teams coming off an emotional victory combined with a short week, but just a team coming off that kind of emotional victory, firing yourself up for the next week is not always easy. You see them fall time and again. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but it's going to be a sluggish start for the Raiders.
And it's gorgeous on Sunday, so there's no weather issues.
There's never any weather issues, Jimmy.
First half, you'd be looking at Pitt. Money moving on the Raiders right now, so you might be able to get a better line if you wait. First half, Pittsburgh, and then maybe the unders in play as well. So we will have to go back. Whack Prescott says can't back Gruden and Card duo. And Chris Brady says Raiders 13-3-1 to the over last year. And Mike M says I see Vegas start out fired up after the OT victory and then dying down in the second half. And Jose shouting out Preston saying hitting a parlay with Waller over yards, receptions, TD, and Raiders win $50 to win $600. Nice job. Okay, there you go. Steelers first half, possibly a look here, and the under as well, but no official plays thus far. Let's move on to another 1 p.m. start. We're almost on the 1 p.m. games here. New Orleans Saints at Carolina Panthers, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. We don't know if this game is going to play. Let's see if it's even on the board right now if you wanted to bet it, and it is still on the board. You can bet it right now with the Saints as 3.5 point favorites. 3.5 point favorites. So let's see what the market has done with the COVID issues surrounding the New Orleans Saints. They've done nothing. Open at 2.5, now at 3.5, and we'll go over all the COVID issues because it's mostly coaching staff at this point. This total has gone from 46 down to 44. And let's take a look at the cash flow here in this spot. 6,355 tickets in. 33% of the tickets are on Carolina and now 57% of the cash. I would imagine that that's gamblers thinking, oh, I think I can get an edge here betting against New Orleans when more announcements may be made of losing players due to COVID. And then we have 59% of the tickets on the over and 93% of the cash on the over. But it's moved from 46 to 44, and I can't tell you when they bought in. But 44 seems like a pretty low number. Saints are a giant question mark. So this 8 players are on the COVID list, 6 offensive coaches, 1 player, and a nutritionist. The player is Michael Thompson, who's, physically unable to perform list. He can't come back to week 7 at the earliest. That's after their bye week because of the ankle issues. So now mandatory masking inside facilities, daily testing, no in-person meetings, and only grab-and-go meals. That's the situation for them right now. And Sean Payton already told us in the offseason that the team's coaching and personnel staffs are 100% vaccinated. So it takes some of the luster off of the spectacular 38-3 win over the Packers in Jacksonville. I was on the Saints -4 and on the Saints team total over. Winston looked so in control, and he's just different. He's completely different after watching Drew Brees for a year. This is his comment after the game. He says, Drew always preached, it's about the decision, not the result. I was like, Jesus Christ. Is that the guy who's eating W's and stealing crab legs? This is a different guy. And he's ready to – he looked so in control, 14 of 20 for 148 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Saints did not punt in the first half. Deontay Harris, 2 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Juwan Harris, 3 catches for 21 yards. 2 of them were touchdowns. Alvin Kamara ran 20 times for 83 yards. You catch that, Bebsie. Tony Jones came in 11 carries for 50 yards. And how good is this Dennis Allen defense? We don't know yet, but god damn, did that defense look good. Panthers opened their season with an underwhelming 19-4 win at home over the Jets. 16-0 at the half. I cashed the first half. I lose the full game because I betted at a terrible time. Darnold was 24 for 35 for 279 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. McCaffrey was back to being the most exciting player on the field. He ran 21 times for 98 yards and caught 9 passes for 89 yards. DJ Moore looked very good, 6 catches for 80 yards. Robbie Anderson only made 1 catch, but he took it to the house for 57 yards. Shaq Thompson was all over the field. My God, 10 tackles, 1 sack, 3 passes deflected. They put up 6 sacks, but was it the Panthers' strong pass rush or the Jets' terribly weak offensive line? The Panthers dominated the first half, let the Jets back into it. It was 16-0. The Panthers had out-yarded the Jets 272-82 after the first half. They lose Miles Hartfield to a wrist injury, and he's going to be out for an extended period. And that hurts their secondary because Bouye is still out on suspension. So I know there's a lot of moving parts here, Bebsie, with the Saints and COVID, but this is still on the board waiting to be bet. So take it away, Saints-Panthers.
Okay. I'm betting the Saints here because I really think, listen, this is the NFL. They, early in the week last year when they had COVID issues, I'm talking about the NFL, not specifically the Saints, by and large, they got it done. Now, this is another year where people are vaccinated. It's not going to last as long. I do believe a lot of these players are going to be cleared before game time, and this line is going to move in favor of the Saints. So I'm betting the Saints now. I wish I had the stones to bet them last week because my gut said them. I talked about it on the Tuesday show. I was like, this team is getting no respect because Breeze is gone. I didn't think losing Breeze was a big deal. Drew Brees was not the player he once was for the last couple of years, especially last year. He was terrible last year. And I don't know. This is a different Jameis. We talked about it last week. I have faith in Jameis. He's proved that he can play well. But is it as simple as laser eye surgery? Could he not see before? He's matured, obviously. You can hear it the way he speaks. He's not telling people to eat a W, which is still the worst pep talk I've ever heard. But yeah, I believe this Saints team right now, top to bottom, they are so much better. Carolina squeaks by a Jets team that is new coach, rookie quarterback, dealing with a ton of injuries, and started out not very good. They squeak out that win. This is a Saints play. Chris McCann saying got him at -3 last night. Yeah, that line's going to move a lot towards the end of the week, I believe. So now getting in on it now is the way to go.
Josh Benedict says best bet was under 47 on opening line. Yes, Bet Online opened it at 47. Other books didn't, but Bet Online comes out first. They're not scared of that. Wow, this is interesting. So full game for you, Saints -3.5. Is that the move?
Yeah, and apologies to Trusty. No disrespect to the great Drew Brees, but he was not good last year.
-3.5 at -105 is the best bet available for you. Bebsie -3.5 at -105 for the Saints, and you are in business. And market moving towards the under. Josh Benedict saying the best look was at hitting that opening line at 47. And then on the other hand, you have Schnizzle saying, he's on the over 44.5. Ski Profit loving the look. And it makes sense to me. But I'm going to just sit back and watch at this point. I just want to get a little more information on all this COVID stuff. But it makes sense. The move makes sense. And Dennis Garcia not on the other side. Dennis Garcia is saying, where is it? He's saying My line came Nola -1.5. He says, I might bet Carolina. Birdie says, I like it, Bebsie. Gerald Jones liking the under, and Robert Land is on the Saints as well. Okay, we move on. Another 1 p.m., the last 1 p.m. game on the card. Denver Broncos at Jacksonville Jaguars. Broncos coming 1-0 with that very comfortable win over the Giants, and the Jaguars coming in with that ugly loss to the Texans. We're at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. Denver here, we have Denver opening up at -6. It's where they stand right now. There has been a 5-cent move towards Denver. This total opened up at 44. It's now at 45. And a few books, including BetOnline, have moved it to 45.5. Let's move over to the cash flow in this spot. 6,027 tickets in. 74% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on the Broncos, and 60% of the tickets, 89% of the cash on the under. And yet, this total climbs to 45 or 45.5. Very, very interesting. Rez Mob in the house. What's up, Rez, my guy. Okay, so Broncos got their season off to an excellent start, 27-13 win at the Giants. They were in complete control. Teddy Covers did exactly what he does on the road. Covers, 28 of 36, 264 yards, 9 different receivers. Melvin Gordon ran for 101 yards. It helped that he broke one off for 70. They won the possession battle, 35 minutes and 8 seconds to 24-52. They converted 7 of 15 third downs. They were 3 for 3 on fourth down. Von Miller played for the first time since 2019 at a sack, or really early sack, but finished with 2. Chubb missed the game due to injury. He was a limited participant in practice last week. It's unsure if he'll be ready to go this week. They didn't need him in that last game, and they don't need him here. So it wouldn't shock me if they give Chubb another week. Jerry Jeudy was carted off with a high ankle sprain. An MRI is going to be done. He will not be available. Jaguars got off to a very ugly start. Sunday was the first time Meyer lost a season opener as a head coach after winning 17 straight openers as a college coach. I'm so thankful that I finally got the courage, and it took it moving to 3.5 for me to do it, but thank God I got the courage to bet the Texans. Trevor Lawrence, 28 of 51, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Lawrence says it's first time in his life at any level of football that he's thrown 3 picks. Shark caught 3 passes for 86 yards. Marvin Jones, 5 passes for 77 yards. And Urban Meyer did something that bothered me, and that's going with Carlos Hyde as the main back here because of his relationship with Hyde from Ohio State. And I just – look, I don't know what went on in the preseason, so I shouldn't make any kind of statement about it, but James Robinson was a huge piece of this team last year when everybody gave up on him, and he was fighting as hard as possible. And for him to get 5 carries in week 1, I didn't like it. I did not like what he was doing to James Robinson, and I immediately thought, you're going to lose the room, Urban. You're going to lose the fucking room. Here we go. Broncos, Jags, 6-point favorites are the Broncos on the road. Take it away, Bebsie.
Look, the Jeudy injury sucks for the Broncos. The Chubb injury, you're going to get him back. So you're going to get Jeudy back too. But, a high ankle sprain on a wide receiver, it's going to be a while. It's going to be 6 to 8 weeks, I think. But look, this Broncos team is a solid team. They were missing a capable quarterback last year. Teddy Bridgewater is that. Teddy Bridgewater has been not good, not bad. He's been steady most places he's ever gone. I like Teddy Two Gloves. McGrokester99 saying, watch Sutton go off now. I like Cortland Sutton, man. The guy can play ball. KJ Hamler can play ball. This is a team that can still function. And Jimmy, everything you said about Urban Meyer, it's what we were talking about last week. Again, Ohio State guy over here, Urban Meyer has not proved he could win with a bad team. Winning with Ohio State is not terribly impressive as a head coach. When you have everything, when you have literally a better player in every position than the other team, you should be able to win. So I agree wholeheartedly. I like Carlos Hyde. Former Niner, former Buckeye. I do. I like him. But to give him the bulk of the carries over James Robinson, who, like you said, played great last year, and not only did Trevor Lawrence throw 3 INTs for the first time ever, even including high school. He lost a regular season game for the first time ever. Never lost a regular season game in high school or college. He's going to lose another one this week. This is a Broncos play here.
Burgundy Bet says high opening number, but no way this stays at -6. Broncos -7. He thinks they'll get to. And our Birdie said, sorry, I've lost it here. Where was Birdie? Birdie said, I bet Broncos -3 early.
That's a hell of a line for Birdie to grab. I mean, you're laughing at this point.
This game is a massive trap for the Broncos. Says Florida humidity is a real thing, but my Jags are a train wreck. Fire Urban. Ray Charles says Broncos win easily, and Prince of the City clearly on the same look as you here.
Prince and I have agreed on pretty much everything except for love and hate versus Ohio State here.
Are you? Oh no, he hates. He's a Michigan guy.
How's Michigan doing?
Do you want to move here on the Broncos at -6?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I got that 3 that Birdie got. Damn, but look, I had skepticism about Urban Meyer and the Jags. It was only exacerbated by a terrible performance this week, and liking the Broncos was backed up this week. So, yeah, this is another spot for me. I just can't turn down.
And the 3.5 first half, but you just want to focus on the full game?
I just want to focus on the full game.
All right, well, let's line shop for you right now. Broncos -6. Let's also take a look where the cash lies. I'm not sure. Did I do it? Let me look at it again here. 6,052 tickets in. I did, yeah. 74% of the tickets and 70% of the cash on the Broncos. And then 60% of tickets, 89% of cash on the under. Broncos at -6 at -103. And UH already moved it to 6.5. So -6 and -103 at Pinnacle. Are the Broncos going to open up their season with 2-score victories on the road? -6 and -103. That's available at Pinnacle. Very, 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 very interesting. Harold Williams says Broncos easily. Ray Charles says Broncos win easily. Mr. Gokster likes the Jacksonville team total under 19.5. What do you think of that look?
Team total under?
Yeah, under 19.5.
Look, you got to worry about garbage time. They got some garbage time TDs in week 1. I think they could do that as well. That would be my apprehension with that.
Very, very interesting. Chris Brady says it's -103. I think there's edge here. All right, I'm going to have to sit and think on this spot a little more before I pull the trigger. But I'll wake up in the morning and it'll be 6.5. And maybe, it's just that, Birdie getting a -3 because he's a sharp capper. I just, do I want to take public transit? I don't know. I'm going to have to sit on it and think about it right now. -6 and -103 for Bebsie. And clearly there'll be 6.5 soon. And probably 7 by kickoff. We finished the 1 o'clock games. Let's move on to the afternoon games. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Vikings at Arizona Cardinals, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. We start with the market here for Vikes Cardinals. Cardinals opened up as 4.5-point favorites, but that 4.5 was at a +101. It's now to -103, so a 4-cent move towards Cardinals. This total sitting at 51. There's been a 1-cent move to the over. Let's see here. We have 5,333 tickets in, 70% of the tickets, 91% of the cash on the Cardinals. And then we don't know the cash for the total at this point, but we know that 63% of the tickets are on this over. Vikings did not look good in their season opening 27-24 loss at Cincinnati. 3 false starts on their opening drive, 4 penalties on their first 8 plays. Kirk Cousins did have a strong game, 36-49, 351 yards and 2 touchdowns. Thielen, as was dropped by a couple different cappers in the chat, and one of them was adamant on Sunday, and the name's escaping me right now, but one of our guys was adamant to take Thielen anytime touchdown. And I wish I had of 9 catches for 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson caught 5 passes for 71 yards. KJ Osborne, 5th-round pick out of Miami, got his career off to a great start, 7 catches for 76 yards. Dalvin Cook did not. 20 carries for 61 yards, one very costly fumble in overtime that set Cincy up for the winning drive. He did catch 6 passes for 43 yards, and Brashad Breeland looked terrible. I mean, he just looked exposed in the secondary nonstop throughout the game. But they did get 5 sacks on Burrow, led by Pierce's 2. Cardinals are coming off a dominant 38-13 win at Tennessee. Wow. I mean, it was just stop everything you're doing and look at how good this team looks. Kyler Murray, 21 for 32, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. DeAndre Hopkins, 6 catches for 83 yards. Christian Kirk, 5 catches for 70 yards. Chase Edmonds looked so good. And the 1-2 punch of him and Connor works. He ran 12 times for 63 yards. He caught 4 passes for 43 yards. Kyler didn't have to put himself at risk because the playmakers were doing their job and the offensive line was protecting him. Chandler Jones had 5 sacks. 5. God, I'm trying to get an extension. Maybe he gets one now. Dennis Garcia says Arizona is a tad cheap. Arizona is a tad cheap at -4.5. Bebsie, what say you? Take it away.
Look, I'm not going to let one game sell me on the Cards. Not ready to get off that hill. I still look. I don't think the Vikings are going to pose much of a threat to them. They should still do just fine. But look, that defense was pummeling early and often. Like the Tannehill had no time to do anything. So I don't think that happened. We're not going to see a 5-sack performance from Chandler Jones a second time this week. I think there's something off-putting about that start. I hated that it was so handily won by Arizona because Kyler Murray didn't need to run at all, and therefore my rush prop didn't catch. But I don't know. I have so much apprehension about this game. The Vikings looked way worse than I expected. The Cards looked way better than I expected. I'm going to take a breath on both of these teams. Minnesota started horrible last year as well. So going to take a nice little breath and just let these two teams duke it out, see what happens, watch them, learn a little bit more about them before I make any moves on them.
And Slatsy's saying it was Sharpie on the Thielen TD prop. And Sharpie, by the way, started the season 21-7. That's how hot he is right now, and just handing out winners for all of us and asking nothing in return. I get it. I get why you're hesitant here. Burgundy Bet says, Jimmy, this game will be Cardinals -6.5 or worse by kickoff. If you're going to back Arizona, get them now. If you believe in trap games, stay away. Very, very, very interesting. Schnizzle says, I can never figure out the Vikings. I'd love to hear what our man Clint, star of the Die Hard MMA podcast, thinks about his Vikings. J-Dub says, Vikings take the points, field goal. It says Vikings take the points, field goal type of game. Slatsy says, I can't stand Vikings coach, quarterback. Let's see. Brutal Vikes offensive line stop Jones. Cards roll in the desert. Cards team total over 28.5 and full game. Public side, and I am Mr. Public on this one. Wow. Well, clearly I get why you're staying off at this point. What do you think of this total here? Do you trust Arizona to keep racking up points?
I don't trust Arizona to do anything at all because I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury. He's never given anybody any reason to trust him. So, yeah, I think this could be a slog. I think this could be both teams, one team playing better than they did last week, one team coming back down to earth a little bit. Both teams are certainly capable of putting up points, but I'm staying off this game. I have a bad feeling about it. I had an awful read on the Cards week 1, so it's another look for me this week. The Vikings are I wouldn't say I had an awful read on them. I think they will be slightly better than they were.
Interesting breakdown. I'm going to need more time for Vikings Cardinals too, because it does feel like a possible overreaction, or maybe Cardinals are that good. Only time will tell. Right now, though, sitting at 4.5 points. Move on to the next 4:05 game. Atlanta Falcons at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We go back to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. Atlanta opening up as 13-point dogs. They moved to 12.5-point dogs. They are now 12-point dogs. The total moved from 53 down to 52. Let's take a look at that. So we've seen a 1-point move on both sides in total. 4,917 tickets in. 62% of the tickets, 82% of the cash on the Buccaneers. Market moving towards Atlanta. 68% of the tickets and 90% of the cash on the over. And that has gone down a point. So reverse line movement in both spots. Falcons open their season with a disaster. Just an absolute disaster. 32-6 at home to the Eagles. I'm on the under 7.5 wins at plus 100. So I liked seeing that because that was one of my question mark games. And I figured if they lose that one, they're going to be in big trouble trying to get to 8 wins. They had 2 nice drives to open up the game, but settled for field goals and did squat-ass zilch for the rest of the game. Never advanced farther than a Philadelphia 49 after those 2 drives. Finished with 260 yards. Matt Ryan, 21-35 for 164 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Calvin Ridley caught 5 passes for 51 yards. Kyle Pitts, 4 for 31. Mike Davis got his Falcon career off to a disappointing start. He ran 15 times for 49 yards, just 3.3 yards per carry. Cordero Patterson looked like the most dangerous running back. The defense looked terrible. 1 sack only, didn't get any pressure. Brady threw for 379 yards and 4 touchdowns in the 31-29 win over the Cowboys. And afterwards, he said, look, there's a lot to clean up. He just seems like he's in control of everything. Looks like he just decides everybody's futures, and he just sits back and smiles and kisses his son on the mouth and bangs supermodels. I mean, it's a wild life he lives. The Bucs hope to become the first team to repeat since Brady did it in 03-04. Godwin, Gronkowski, and Antonio Brown caught first-half touchdowns. Shout out to Birdie, who bet Antonio Brown to lead the league in receiving yards. 5 catches for 121 yards. He just looked so good. Godwin, 9 catches for 105 yards. But he had the major fumble. The Bucs look like they're not even really trying out here. And this looks like another kind of tricky spot. You have to think, I don't know. The Buccaneers and Brady's teams don't care about being great early. They care about being great late. Schnizzle says Bucs minus 12.5. I'm not overthinking it. Lonnie Lover says Bucs minus 12.5. I'm definitely going under the total. 50 plus is too rich for this game. Bebsie, take it away, Falcons, Bucs.
It just feels like too many points, and it almost feels like a trap with how awful the Falcons were and how great Tampa squeaked by a Dallas Cowboys team that I don't believe in at all. So I don't know if they look great. Tom looked very good in week 1. I don't know how you don't look good with all those weapons and that offensive line. But he did. He looked great in week 1. He didn't look old like he did a lot of the time last year. Sorry, he did. But it's just too many points. It's too many points for me to get in on this. I can't see the Falcons being that bad again. And to just echo what you said there, Jimmy, I mean, this is a team that's probably already looking past this game to a degree. I mean, they're still professionals, but they're not going to come down full throttle on them. And did Birdie really bet Antonio Brown to lead the league in this year?
This year, yeah, before the season started, a huge price.
I mean, that's wild. Birdie, I would love to see that cash for you. I loved your anytime touchdown firm last week, and I almost tailed it. I wish I had. It was a great look. That's a tall order to see him lead the league. Holy shit, would I love to see it. But it's just too many points for me.
I don't see how I don't bet the Falcons here at plus 12.5. I just don't see how and I also don't think that my palms just start leaking as I said that. I also don't see this getting better. I don't see public hammering this to 14 or anything like that. The books are not going to do that. I think this just gets lighter as the day goes on. Pinnacle's already moved it to 12. Bet365 still hanging to 12.5. I think this is a must. I think this is a must bet. Falcons plus 12.5 here. I do. I mean, the Bucs, Brady just does not. It's not that he doesn't care. He just knows that it's just not important right now. And the Falcons know how important it is. And Arthur Smith, everybody, they need to stay in this game. Prince of the Sea says, I don't care. It's 32.5 Bucs team total. They say they want to score 40 a game. I think they'll start scoring 40 a game once we get to week 10 or 12. Dennis Garcia says Tampa Bay is Rams and then New England in Brady's return game. I am going to be moving on the Atlanta Falcons here at plus 12.5, and I'm going to bet it tonight. I don't think I'll get a better line. And from a total perspective, Bebsie, this total sitting at 52, is it too high?
The way I see it getting caught is a backdoor cover. But yeah, I don't see them going full throttle, which is why I can see them. That's why I like your call on taking the Falcons to cover here. But I don't know. It's an ugly place for me to want to bet. Mentally, where I'm thinking of betting from is not a good spot. I'm betting on the thing that I think will happen because it shouldn't happen, which is just silly logic. So I'm staying off it. I can see that total hitting the over because I can see some garbage minute touchdowns. But I don't know. It's another game for me that's a weird look.
Michael Overlina says, I think it goes to 13 on Sunday. Could you guys do me a favor here and pop in the chat whether you think that there will be a better line for the Falcons come Sunday than the 12.5 that I could bet right now, and keeping in mind that Pinnacle's moved it to 12. If you guys could let me know, I'd like to do a little vote here and see if you guys think that I'll get a better line than the 12.5 I could bet tonight on the Falcons. All right, we move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Dallas Cowboys and Los Angeles Chargers. This game's going to be a beauty. SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Let's move over to the market here. The Chargers open up at -3 at plus 108. So they're now minus 102. So a 10-cent move at Pinnacle towards the Chargers. This total has gotten beat up. Opened at 52, and Pinnacle leading the way here, moving it all the way to 55.5. Wow. So let's take a look at the cash. 6,002 tickets in, 38% of the tickets on the Chargers, and 82% of the cash on the Chargers. Ooh-wee, that's wild. And then 29% of the tickets on the under, and 83% of the cash on the under, and yet it's moved up to 55 or 55.5. Whew. Dak Prescott threw for 403 yards, 3 touchdowns. His first game since that awful injury, and he looked excellent. He looked so good, but the Patriots didn't look good. And I still don't know how good these Cowboys are, even though they, went into Tampa and only lost by a point and probably should have won. So 7 of their first 8 possessions either started or ended in Tampa Bay territory. And yet you're still losing by 9 points at the half. I don't know what to make of them because Zeke looked terrible. 11 carries for 33 yards. Is that a surprise to anyone? Certainly not a surprise to Bebsie. He might be done. Maybe that's a little harsh. Cooper finished with 13 catches for 139 yards. Chargers started their season with a big 2016 win and Justin Haley's head coaching debut. But this game was confounding to me, and it was to stay off and watch. I didn't make a move on either side or total here, but Herbert goes 31 for 47 for 337 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. So he joins Mahomes as the only player in league history with 4,500 yards passing in his first 16 career starts. Keenan Allen caught 9 passes for 100 yards. Remember, Sharpie had the at least 8 and at least 9 catches for huge scores for Keenan Allen. He got to 900 yards. Mike Williams, 8 catches for 82 yards, 1 touchdown. Austin Eckler quelled the fears over his hamstring. 15 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. Didn't take long for Bulaga to get hurt. I do not expect him to be available when push comes to shove in an important game. He left in the third quarter with a back injury. Storm Norton replaced him and looked good doing it. The offensive line as a whole did a very good job against that very dangerous front seven. And they lost Nazir Adderley, their safety, to a shoulder injury early in the fourth. Dennis Garcia said Dallas was +3 in the turnover differential and lost the game. All you need to know. I think that this is sharp money on the Chargers. I think this is sharp money on the Chargers, and that I should probably tail it after breaking this down. But let's hear what Bebsie has to say. Cowboys, Chargers, take it away.
Look, I'm in the same boat here. I think this is a Chargers play or bust. I don't have faith in the Cowboys. I do think they're overrated. I think every year the Cowboys are overrated, and by the end of the season, those who disagreed with me come around. Look, I have zero faith in McCarthy as a head coach. I do think Zeke is not the player he once was. And yeah, Crystal Warren, you're right. It was pass. But when Zeke did have his opportunity to run the ball, he wasn't effective. So I'm very high on Herbert. I'm very high on a revamped Chargers offensive line, even with Bulaga out. I mean, that guy's always out. They've game planned for that. Derwin James being back in as a lift. And look, Herbert is a absolute beast. Now, Dak looked very, very good on his first night out, which surprised me because we talked about it. I had major questions about that shoulder. But really, at the end of the day, I think Washington is a better football team than the Dallas Cowboys. The Chargers took care of Washington. I think they'll take care of Dallas again this week.
So do I, and I'm going to get on board with the Chargers. I know that Dallas is a public team, but I think there's so clearly sharp money on the Chargers that I don't see the public changing that or changing the market here. What do you think of this total all the way up to 55.5? Is that crazy?
I don't think it's crazy because both of these teams are very offense heavy. I just think the Chargers have a much better defense.
DX Filer, whom I love dearly, says Bebsie giving Chargers too much credit here, I think. Says Herbert is great, but they beat the Redskins with no quarterback. But DX Filer says Dallas is my favorite spread bet. Might be square, but I don't care. Slatsy says bet of the week for me. I got Sunday over 52.5. Says fireworks. Dak and Herbert go head to head. Pass. Get this over. Ski Prophet says I bet the over 52.5, and I like the Chargers also. Mr. Go says love the over.
Yeah, I think even at you said it's been bet all the way up to 55?
55.5 now at Pinnacle.
55.5, yeah. You know what? I still, if you made me take a bet at 55.5, I'd probably still take the over. I think the value's gone on that. Kudos to the people in the chat who got it earlier. But yeah, no, Birdie, we talked about this a lot last year, the look-aheads. I don't think it's as prominent as it is talked about. However, it feels like every time I disagree with you, I'm wrong. So maybe I'll just shut up because I've probably already put the hex on my bet. But I'm still good with the Chargers here.
Birdie says Chargers have Chiefs on deck. Allen in the media laughing at Dallas secondary. Dallas has 3 more days to prep. I bet Dallas +3. Al Cervix says Dallas D is horrible.
Dallas D is horrible. They were horrible last year, and the only addition was, Micah Parsons in a position where that was Dallas's strength last year.
Crystal Warren says Herbert will throw for 400 yards. Cowboys pass D is just awful. Is that the prop bet here to take Herbert over?
You better believe I'll be staring at prop bets, especially there's a good chance I'm going to grab a Keenan Allen anytime, TD. Friday and Saturday is usually when I zero in on props, but that's definitely a look I'm gonna be checking out.
I think that's a great call, Crystal. I think it's a great call, and then your Keenan Allen TD on top of it too. And Sharpie was all over that week 1. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to sit here and think about this Charger spot a little more. The extra days of prep will help, and doesn't also. I think the Chargers I think it's important for the Chargers to be 2-0 going into that battle with the Chiefs. Okay. Okay. A great call by Crystal Warren. Ski Prophet saying Slater is the best rookie. Says Rashawn Slater is a beast. Gave up no pressures. He is big for us. God. I guess with Birdie on the other side of the Broncos +3 and the Chargers with the Chiefs on deck, I'm going to have to think on this a little longer and not just pull the trigger immediately on the Chargers. So that's what I will do. All right, we only have a couple games left on this card. Next up, 4:25 p.m. Tennessee Titans at Seattle Seahawks. I don't want to call it Lumen Field, but it is. Seattle, Washington. All right, let's take a look at this spot here.
Elliot V is aging himself with that Crystal Waters comment in the chat. Just saying.
The Chargers open up at minus. Oh, sorry. The Seattle opens up at -6 at plus 101. That moved to 5.5. Then Pinnacle is the first to move it to 5. So Pinnacle hanging a 5 for the Seahawks. This total went from 52.5 up to 54. So we see a 1.5 point move to the over and a 1 point move to the Titans. Let's see if the money shows us why. 3,694 tickets in, and it does. 51% of the tickets on the Titans, but 69% of the cash. Then 37% of tickets on the under and 90% of cash on the under. So that doesn't follow suit. So the total is confusing, but it makes sense why the market is moving towards these Tennessee Titans. They opened up their season by being embarrassed 38-13 at home by the Cardinals. Tannehill was under pressure all game long. I mean, he got sacked 6 times. 21 for 35 for 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Chester Rogers was their leading receiver, 4 catches for 62 yards. A.J. Brown did not look good, 4 catches for 79 yards. And Julio Jones already in Vrabel's doghouse. That unsportsmanlike penalty was costly. And then he just gets 3 catches for 29 yards. Derrick Henry did not look like the 2,000-yard rusher from last year, running 17 times for 58 yards. The defense did not look good at all. The secondary was constantly exposed. They only got 2 sacks, one by Jeffrey Simmons, one by Harold Landry. Seahawks got their season off to a great start with a 28-16 win at Indianapolis. Russell Wilson looked like he'd been running Shane Waldron's offense for years. No preseason snaps for Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks open with 2 touchdowns on their first 2 drives. He has a perfect passer rating of 158.3 in the first half. He winds up at 152.3. That's the second highest single game rating of his entire career. 18 for 23, 254 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Tyler Lockett, 4 catches for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 4 catches for 60 yards, 1 touchdown. Chris Carson ran the ball 16 times for 91 yards. Bobby Wagner was a monster all over the field, 13 tackles. They got sacks from Rasheem Green, Benson Mayowa, and Darrell Taylor. They've now won 12 of their past 13 games on the early Sunday time slot. They lose Penny Hart to a concussion and Rashad Penny to a calf injury. So Titans were embarrassed, but market moving towards them from 6 to 5. Is that a mistake on the opening line, or do you agree with the spot and just think that it's just a few too many points for the Titans? Take it away, my man, Bebsie. We have Titans at Seahawks.
I agree. I think it's too many points to give the Titans. Look, this Titans team, yeah, they were abysmal. They were embarrassed last week. They're not all of a sudden bad. They've been consistently good with this team over the last few years. It's not like they're over the hill. They're not terrible. They had a terrible game. So I'm not betting against the Seahawks again. We talked about this. People who bet against the Seahawks often probably don't have a ton of money right now. But to me, this is just a good spot. If you want to jump in, take the points with Tennessee. I think they, at the very least, keep this close. The big concern for Tennessee is their secondary. Their secondary was brutal last year. Their secondary looked awful this week. And now they're facing Russell Wilson and Lockett and Metcalf are a nasty duo. So I don't know. I'm not betting it. I do think Tennessee keeps this close. I think that's too many points to give a team that is this talented. And they had to get away from Derrick Henry early. I don't know if they'll have to do that again this week. So we'll see. I lean Tennessee. I'm not going to bet it. And as far as the point total, I mean, it really depends on who's up at half. Because if Seattle's rolling and scoring touchdowns, it's going to go way over. Are these props going to be after a terrible game? Is this a spot for us? Burgundy bets. I would like to think that the Derrick Henry props will be a good look this week, but they never seem to drop that much. I still think he's going to be floating around. My early guess for that is it'll be around 90 yards. Which I'm not willing to bet again, because if if they get scored on early and often, they're going to have to get away from that run game again. However, Derrick Henry's not going to have 2 bad weeks in a row.
Seems like a Titans bounce back spot. It seems like a huge number to offer the Titans at right now. Overreaction. The Sharps know it immediately and start betting the Titans. Seems like the Titans can cover here. I just lost an alarming. I mean, imagine what my week would have been like had I not been on them. It just seems like I have to have confidence and go back to the well, fade the Seahawks. But maybe this is just a bias because I want to go back to the well with the Colts as well. Titans have to be the play at plus 5.5. That's just too many points for a team that's questioning everything and is going to be so serious, taking everything seriously all week. I am going to I plan – now I'll sit and look at it after the game, but I plan on moving on the Titans at plus 5.5. I just think it's too many points. Titans plus 5.5, a bounce-back spot for them. I agree with the Sharps. I'm going to follow the Sharps here and see where that takes me. So I plan on moving the Titans plus 5.5. Okay, we move on. 2 games left. First off, the Sunday nighter, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Kansas City Chiefs at Baltimore Ravens. We're at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. Charm City. Kansas City opening up as 2.5-point favorites. Let's move to 4. 4 at Pinnacle and Sports Interaction. Baltimore total opens up at 55.5. It's still at 55.5 at Pinnacle, but 75% of the books have moved it to 50. Then we go over to the cash flow here. We have 5,989 tickets in. 84% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on the Chiefs, and 54% of the tickets, 83% of the cash on the over. Chiefs opened up their season with a 33-29 comeback victory at home over the Browns. And, Mahomes sort of is like Brady, where he just seems in control at all times. I mean, I know that the luster and magic kind of came off of him in the Super Bowl, but 27 for 36, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, ran 5 times for 18 yards and a touchdown. And, the Chiefs were stymied on the ground, but Mahomes could get anything he wants through the air. Tyreek Hill caught 11 passes for 197 yards and a touchdown. Kelsey caught 6 for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. Edwards-Helaire ran 14 times for 43 yards. And I said this when I was a little disheartened. Look, I cashed with the Browns, and you guys know that I've got futures on them. But this was the time. This was the time when the Chiefs were vulnerable. They did it without free safety Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. He was taken off the COVID list. Frank Clark's being sidelined with a hamstring injury. Chris Jones had to step up and got both of the Chiefs sacks. Ravens got the season off to a disappointing start. I cashed with the Ravens first half -3, but I was disappointed. And look, I want them to be poor this year. I'm on the Browns, so I don't know why exactly it bothered me. Ravens got off to a 14-0 start. They had a 98-game regular season win streak when leading by at least 14 points dating back to 2004. That's gone. They lose before the game. They lose Dobbins and Edwards and Justice Hill and Marcus Peters. They won their last 5 openers by a margin of 177-26. I got caught up in those numbers, but still, I only took the first half, but I did get caught up in those numbers. Lamar Jackson, 19 for 30 for 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interception. I apologize if you hear my son searching frantically for Titty, but understand that I respect the fight, And if he needs to wake somebody up to get Titty in his mouth, then he's going to do just that. And I respect the fight. Lamar Jackson, 19 of 30 for 235 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Sammy Watkins looked dangerous. 4 catches for 96 yards. Marquise Brown, 6 catches for 69 yards. Both receivers look dangerous. Tyshawn Williams, looked good. Running 9 carries for 65 yards with 1 touchdown. He caught 3 passes for 29 yards. We'll see if he can do that over and over again. The defense looked good. Patrick Queen looked good, and the defense looked bad. I was shocked that they weren't able to get pressure on Carr, and they weren't able to make the big plays when they needed to. And it was just Patrick Queen and nobody else. Bebsie, take it away here. Chiefs, Ravens, Monday nighter.
Look, it's tough to bet against the Chiefs right now. The shine came off them because they lost the Super Bowl, but didn't Patrick Mahomes run for like 300 yards away from the pass rush in that game? They have fixed that offensive line by heavily investing in the offseason on the offensive line. This Chiefs team is going to be nasty all year. And we're talking about a Ravens team that they just lost to the Raiders, but it's more about losing Peters, losing their whole stable of running backs. And look, Latavius Murray looked pretty good at times yesterday. He's a solid running back. So they've figured that out to some extent, but it's demoralizing when you have that kind of an injury stretch. It'll get in your head. I don't think it's clearly going to be out of their head. So now we're looking at the Chiefs coming in after a nice comeback win, and the Ravens coming in after blowing a game that they should have won. So it's a really, really tough spot for the Ravens, and it's a good spot for the Chiefs. I just have trouble betting a team that seldom covers. Like, the Chiefs just seem to be that team that just does just enough to beat a team by a little bit each time. So I have no confidence betting them. This is going to be a prop look for me. Somebody mentioned the Kelsey anytime TD. Yeah, that's what that guy does. He scores touchdowns. You could probably bet it every single week and come out ahead. But it'll be a prop look for me. It's a lean to the Chiefs. I don't have a ton of faith in the Ravens right now. They just got to be demoralized between injuries and losing that game in the fashion that they did. It's a really tough spot for the Ravens.
The 6,002 tickets in, 84% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on the Chiefs. And look, if you got in at minus 2.5, like our Dennis Garcia did, you're sharp better. But the public is going to hammer the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait. And it could get to 5. It could get to 5.5. Right now it's sitting at 4. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. And I think I will move on the Ravens at home if it can get up to those numbers. I really do. Burgundy Bet says Chiefs live line after Ravens score. JM, we are drinking. We're just very serious as well. I'm going to move on the Ravens. I am. I think this will be a spot where they can stay in this game. I think there can be an overreaction on what happened in Vegas. And I think I'll get a huge number if I just can stay disciplined and wait. If it's only 4.5, I won't take it. But if it can get past 4.5, I will move on it. That is the Sunday nighter, Chiefs Ravens right there. We move on to the final game on the card. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Pub Sports Radio. Remember, there will be bye weeks, and when they do, the show won't be quite as long. Monday, September 20th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, Detroit Lions at Green Bay Packers. We'll start with the market move here. The Packers open up as minus 10.5 point favorites. That's moved to 11. This total has gone from 49.5 down to 48 or 48.5. The 3,555 tickets in on this spot. 68% of the tickets, 77% of the cash are on the Packers. Then we have 71% of the tickets and 90% of the cash on the over, but the total is dropping, which is very, very interesting. Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We talked about what the Lions did to the Niners, for a long time. 38-10, they were down in the fourth quarter, and they showed a lot of heart. And we know that everything's changed in that locker room now that Dan Campbell's in there. He's changed everything. And they feel like there's hope in there. And they showed that in the fourth quarter. 23 points in 3+ minutes to pull within 8 points. It was nuts. Jared Goff, 38 for 57, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns. And, a very costly pick, of course. Hawkinson, career high, 8 receptions for 97 yards. Jamal Williams looked the best on the ground with 9 carries for 54 yards. DeAndre Swift just 11 for 39. But DeAndre Swift did catch 8 passes for 65 yards. This defense simply didn't get any pressure at all and ended with 1 sack. And now we talk about the very embarrassed Green Bay Packers losing 38-3 at the hands of the New Orleans Saints in Jacksonville. Rodgers, 15 for 28 for 133 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Devontae Adams, 5 catches for 56 yards. Randall Cobb just made 1 catch for 32 yards. Aaron Jones ran 5 times for 9 yards. A.J. Dillon 4 times for 19 yards. Their defense got no pressure whatsoever. They didn't record a sack. The Saints didn't even punt in the first half. We've seen Rodgers in situations like this where he has to tell everybody to relax. And this just seems like another situation where, he should be in control of turning this around. But the facts are in the offseason, he wanted out. Is there a change from the times the Packers have looked vulnerable in the past when you know that Rodgers wants to be there? Is there a change now? And what do you think of them being giant favorites at home? Bebsie, the Monday nighter, Detroit Lions at Green Bay Packers.
Well, I mean, being giant favorites at home is funny because Detroit last week showed that they have some fight in them. They have some spark, that the guys want to be there. Green Bay, on the other hand, got absolutely smashed. And, I mean, Rodgers, look at the shots of him on the sideline. He looked like he didn't even want to play football. Now it's Aaron Rodgers, and he looks like that a bunch, and he's probably going to come back and throw for 4 touchdowns this week. However, I can't bet it. I can't back the Packers after a performance like that, after the offseason that they've had. I also can't get behind Detroit because I know they're not very good. And like I said, I watched that game. I watched every snap of that game. The box score and the total or the final score did not show what kind of game that actually was. Detroit got dominated. Goff looked terrible for the vast majority of it. They couldn't do anything until the starters came out and Verrett got hurt. So, look, neither team is inspiring me to bet on them. Robert Tonyan props is where I'm going to look, and I was big on T.J. Hawkinson. I think I picked him up in 2 of my 3 fantasy leagues this year. He was phenomenal against the Niners, and the Niners are excellent at covering tight ends. They have the best cover linebackers in the whole league, and they still couldn't stop him. So Hawkinson props, Tonyan props, that's going to be my look for this week. But zero confidence in either team, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Al Cervix says, I think the dysfunction in Green Bay is obvious, blatant. He's at war with his own team. I thought this was all settled with a new contract.
Yeah, and I think, there's guys like Adams who publicly defended his quarterback, but there has to be enough guys on that team that are looking at Aaron Rodgers being like, you got your new contract. Our team isn't bad. They went to the NFC Championship 2 years in a row. Now, them going to the NFC Championship 2 years in a row was interesting because they were not good in either NFC Championship game. They were embarrassed 2 years in a row in the NFC Championship, and it felt like they would be going in. But still, you went to the NFC Championship 2 years in a row. You have Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the league. You have a new contract. You have Robert Tonyan. They signed your left tackle. Like, there were many years of Rodgers' career where he had every right to complain. They weren't spending anywhere near the cap. They weren't drafting him any weapons. This year was kind of like, what are you doing, man? If you don't want to play, don't play. And I think there's got to be enough players in that locker room who are just looking at Rodgers being like, I'm kind of done with this guy. So, yeah, I don't have a ton of faith in them. I think there's still so much talent there in that locker room. Obviously, there's a boatload of talent with Rodgers, but I got to see them come back. I think Rodgers is going to be fine. The guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to be an absolute stud, but no confidence in this week. In theory, Green Bay should smash Detroit, but after what I saw in week 1, again, I've been preaching not to overreact, and that's probably what I'm doing right here, but I'm off it.
Yeah, there's nothing appealing to me at this point. Makes me want to make a move. And we'll have a lot of time to break this game down as we go throughout the week. This total going from 49.5 down to 48.5 down to 48. Do you agree with the market move to the under?
Well, yeah, you kind of have to agree with it because if Green Bay plays half as bad as they did last week and Detroit is as bad as they are offensively, then there shouldn't be that many points in this game. But the only way that this hits the over is if Green Bay does what Green Bay should be doing and lights them up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We'll see. I'm very curious to see what the Packers do moving forward. And again, Rodgers has been here very comfortably and got them rolling every time. So will he do it again? Probably. But I don't really have interest backing them as this big of a favorite here to get this all started. Sitting as 11-point favorites right now for the Monday Nighter. There you have it. We are, 2 hours, 24 minutes deep. Let's review all of our action and move forward. And again, coming off a monster week, let's see if I can keep that rolling. Thursday Nighter, no move for either Bebsie or I. If there's prop moves that he wants to add, he will let me know. But no move for us on the Thursday Nighter. Bengals +3 is going to be on my card. I do have a question mark beside it, so I will spend some more time on it. But Bengals +3 I expect to be on my card. Bebsie gets his card started with the Browns -6.5 at -117. That was available at Pinnacle. Colts +4 will be on my card. Expecting a much tougher situation for the Rams, who will still win, but I think the 4 is enough for me. Dolphins +3.5 will also be on my card, as will the under 48. I know that I've missed the spot on the Patriots.
Jimmy, I'm adding that under 48. I've thought about it throughout the show.
Okay.
But I am going to add Miami Buffalo under 48.
All right, well, let's lock you in right now here, the under 48. And Bet Online's moved this to 47.5. This should be a bet tonight. -1 and Pinnacle's at -100, by the way. -109 at Sports Interaction is the best look. So here we go for Bebsie. Under 48, -109 at Sports Interaction. Okay, we move on to the. I got. I guess I've got to sit with the Pats for a little longer because I'm just getting flashbacks of the Panthers here. But I think this is a smash spot for the Pats. I really do. I think that a lot of their offensive pieces look good, and I think it's going to get better and better throughout the year. And the New York Jets are just decimated with injuries, and it's going to be very, very difficult for them. So I want the Patriots first half full game, and I want the Jets team total under. Should I take him at 5.5? I'm going to have to sit and stare at it for a little while this evening. 49ers, Eagles, no move for either of us at this point. The Raiders, Steelers, first half Steelers might be a look. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do here, and if I should wait for the Raiders to keep taking money, it's a possibility. Bebsie's on the Saints, -3.5 at -105, and while that makes sense, I still want more time to think on that. Full game -3 at -103 at Pinnacle for the Denver Broncos for Bebsie. And that makes a ton of sense to me. And that's going to be 6.5 in the morning. And the guys that got a better line, more power to them. And I'm wondering if I should wait now. It sucks. It just feels like it's an ass move to do, but it feels like the Broncos are a strong team. And this is a really soft spot for them to go in and get a 2-score win. Vikings and Cardinals, no move for us. I'm going to be on the Falcons +12.5. And look, I lost a lot of money on the Falcons last year. I just think that this is a really ridiculous line, and even the public won't push this up because I think there'll be sharps that would hammer this if it moved to 13. Then the Chargers are a spot that I wanted until Birdie talked about the extra days for the Cowboys. Crystal Warren talked about the Herbert pass over yards. That makes sense to me. And the Keenan Allen TD makes sense to me. But I'm going to have to sit with this a little longer if I want to pull the trigger on the Chargers. Titans +5.5 is going to be on my card this evening. I'm going to wait on the Ravens. I'm going to wait. When that gets up to 5.5 as well. I'll be on them too. And then we have no move on Lions, Packers. So that is our card. Is there anything else you want to add, Bebsie?
No, I'm just I'll be looking at props. I'm not going to go as crazy as I did last week. We saw that panned out for me, but we good.
There you have it. Thank you all so much for joining us here on Pub Sports Radio. Thank you to our producer, Jose, on the ones and twos, and our man, Rob Bebenek, delivering the goods and working hard for us with only one goal in mind, to get that cash. All you guys that have hung out with us for 2.5 hours, it means the world to us. You guys are what makes this show special. So thank you so much for rolling with us, for supporting us here at Pub Sports Radio. Remember, we will be live on Sunday morning for 2 hours before kickoff with 6 different cappers giving us their best bets on the card. And it was a lot of fun. And the season has started out very, very well. So let's keep eating. Let's keep cashing. Bebsie, any last words for these great cappers joining us and supporting us?
Listen, thank you guys for joining us. As always, we have no show without you. And some beautiful looks from the chat today. And hey, let's get behind Jimmy the Bag with that fucking huge start this week. I'm going to be looking to play catch up. But what a great weekend. Yes. One more time from Al Cervic. Rest in peace, the great Norm Macdonald. Dark day, but goddamn, let's look back and laugh at what a wonderful career from that man.
God, he's just so outside the box and so creative and so special. Let's get paid in full. Thank you guys for watching. Let's have a giant season. Let's go.
Where's the bang bang, Preston? Come on.
I can't breathe.
Pub Sports Radio. Come find us in Southtown 101. Subscribe on YouTube and all platforms where podcasts are found.